There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. We got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the final session number 2 here in between John Higgins and Zhao, the battle for the title and 150,000 worth of ranking points and prize money with everything on the line. Nothing to separate the two players. As we can see, the first session has ended with 4 frames on each of the players' frames counts, but it is going to be, well, one of them will have to give an edge to the other, and right now it is going to be John Higgins walking his way and making his way towards his chair onto the arena, going past that wonderful trophy that he hopes he will have another chance of seeing. Of course, he'll be getting past it as he walks away from the intermission. There's not going to be a very comprehensive scoreline that we have seen in the past. This time around, it could still be the exact repeat of last year, where he was the world number 2 against the world number 1, sharing and going the distance, with the final scoreline being 10 frames to 9. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of sort of ground to be covered by the two players if that is to be the case. For now, though, we're about to get frame number 9 to get started. And certainly, well, loads is going to be on the line there for John Higgins here for me. Once again, he needs a good start to this second session. We've had a look at the way that he was going all about the business in these 2 finals that he's played this season, up against Karen Wilson and Wu Yize. But once again, if you talk about that Masters sort of final that he had, he was 5-3 down. He was able to get one of those frames back, but in the end, I feel like the first session just didn't allow him to get anywhere near Karen. And in the end, 6-5, it was 1 frame away, and Karen got on the run to win 3 frames on the bounce and managed to close off that match 10 frames to 6 in the end. So then Zhao is ready. The handshake is there in between the players once again. And let's see if it is going to be the final one before one of them will be crowned the winner. Zhao to break off straight away. It's a decent shot there that he's played. I'm not going to leave any of those long reds into the right corner especially. Something that we have seen pretty much throughout the entire match there as well. Now Higgins looking to try and find the edge of one of those reds on the right part of the table. Ooh, managed to clean touch it. And just make sure that the cue ball is not going to take either green or brown. He's managed to do so, but didn't really judge the pace too well on the cue ball. He's got a big bounce off the bulk, and now he's going to be potentially a chance given away here to Zhao to be taking this red into the left corner right now. So go really deep onto the cue ball, get yourself a chance to try and play the shot across towards the right part of the table. Once again, he's going to be using loads of deep screw. And these are the shots that usually you would expect him to be potting. And woo, nearly potting into both of the corner pockets. Now, where's the red going to finish? Is he going to finish over the right middle? No, he won't. Just about stops in time for it to be resting on the right side cushion. And Zhao will be coming back to his seat straight away. I have to say, majority of those shots were coming in the first session, but to be fair, the ones that weren't probably did happen right at the start of the match in the first couple of frames. So then John Higgins probably still going to be feeling, quite fortunate not to be sitting in his chair, and Zhao to be on the break here after the previous misjudgment on the safety. This time around, he's going to have a lot more control of the cue ball and leaving that one very close to the ball cushion. So now just playing the cue ball away onto the black ball cushion and onto the right side. Make sure you miss the brown this time as well. So Zhao didn't really get the perfect pace judgment on the cue ball, but because he hasn't left any of those loose threads at all, there's not a lot that John Higgins can do here, especially from the long pot game here, because the ideal safety shot would have been to try and play a cross double of the red that it was Zhao that has missed into the left corner. Somehow it's finished all the way to the very top part of the right side cushion. So now Higgins is going to be looking at the left part of those reds, and if you send the white all the way onto the black ball cushion off the left side, he should have a lot of speed there as he comes up towards the colours, and that's exactly what he had. The yellow's taken a bit of that pace away, and so the yellow's gone closer towards its own pocket, and now the cue ball has been cannoned towards the green pocket now. But yeah, simple breakdown for me. Yes, it was a bit of a missed opportunity for Zhao. He could have been heading into the second session with a 5-3 of a lead, but I still feel like until we're probably going to be down to the 15th frame, and either it is going to be Higgins leading by 8 frames to 6, or it is going to be 7 frames each, I feel like it is going to be a massive issue for John Higgins to be trying to do anything to stop Zhao. The further he gets into the second session. Now, the starting point and the middle point is going to be advantage Zhao, and if we're going to get to the last 3 frames with 8 frames each to decider, then potentially you could have the experience really kicking in favour of John Higgins, but a lot of snooker to be played until that point. Good shot there by Higgins, nearly, transition that one to a perfect shot if the cue ball pulls up in behind the green. In the end, slightly too much pace for that to be the case, and just brushes it away. The cue ball is going to be trying to break 3 and standing closer to, well, the green spot right here. Ooh, a bit of a mistake from Zhao. That's going to be 4 points given away in favour of John Higgins. And let's see if it is going to be a long red available as well. That is going to be the case. So let's see if Higgins decides to take this one on. Zhao certainly feels like he will, because he's gone back to his seat. Once again, I mean, I know for a fact that if it was Zhao to be taking this red, he would have already done so. And John Higgins is going to be taking a bit more of a conservative approach and asking the referee to re-spot the cue ball. Classic tonight could be, yes, and we've got the perfect ingredient coming into this frame number 9. Especially, I have to say, from the lineup that we found out yesterday, anything that wasn't Zhao leading is going to be the perfect scenario for us, because even if it was 6-2 for John Higgins, you can see the way that Zhao can storm his way and absolutely just, dispatch with a hurricane style, anything out of his way. You could still see that one to be coming back from 6-2, not so much from 7-1, but you know what I mean. There's not really going to be a chance for a 7-1 scoreline to be in the final, although Mark Williams will say no to that, because that was scoreline he had against Sean Murphy. But the point is, anything that doesn't have Zhao to be running away in the first session sees us with a really interesting setup for the second session here as well. For now, we are going to be getting a couple of safety shots now, and just a matter of time for me until it is going to be Zhao to blink first and go for an aggressive long red. He may have one available here, and he chooses to go the right side of the pink. And this is a good line with the cue ball. Once again, trying to guide that one in behind the yellow. And, ooh, that's going to be really close if John Higgins can see any one of those reds. But it looks like the answer has to be no. And, yes, the answer is certainly going to be no to that. And you may be able to see the thin edge, but I have to say the three miss rule is certainly not going to apply to this one. And the fact that the black has gone onto its own cushion, covered up by the reds as well, doesn't really help the case for Zhao Xington here. You know, if you are going to be hitting the cue ball all the way across to the right side cushion, you need it to have a bit of a bounce from the black ball cushion as well. Now then, let's see if he's trying to do a one cushion escape. And, well, in the end, he got into a bit of a no man's land. I'm not really sure he was trying to do, but what he certainly has done, he's leaving out a chance here for Zhao Xington. And as I say, I feel like he is going to be very much happy about the fact of the black not being available. So let's see what Zhao Xington can do from here. You know, he certainly has got the paint to play for. And he's played a really good shot, to be fair, getting that spin to work beautifully for him as he hits that cue ball across the right side cushion. Gets himself super close to the ping. You still feel like he needs to be taking risks with his position in terms of, you know, he needs to be playing those shots with loads of power, and this may not be the exclusion. He's played it with power, slightly lost control of the cue ball, and I'm not sure he's going to have a straightforward way to continue. As I say, he needs to be making things happen here, because that's clearly the worst position that we've seen in this final so far when it comes to either one of the players trying to make it the break for themselves. That will get him sort of a 40 over 50 points clearance. I feel like that's not going to be the case here. And it's all about just trying to make sure you don't do all the hard work first. And whilst having 20 or so points with the advantage, and then you miss the last of those difficult shots that you need. For now, Zhao Xington is still quite far away from that being the case. And looking towards the reds that he can try and take into the left middle. I mean, it doesn't really have anything available into the left corner as well. So he's going to have to try and make this one all the way to the left middle. And, well, once again, I mean, the problem with that shot is, and that's the sort of luxury that you have with the black sometimes, is that even if you takes this red perfectly into the pocket, which is still very much low chance from that position, I would say, he still has got a mighty of a shot for him to play to lined on the pink. And you can see why I was saying that, because, I mean, he missed the red. He didn't really give anything away, but I feel like even if he maced that red in, he would not have had a chance to try and pop the pink into the right middle. So it is now going to be all about John Higgins trying to just send that cue ball across the table from the right side yet again, and get that cue ball to be resting in behind either green or yellow. In the end, he decides to try and target the bigger area and get that cue ball to be lined up in behind the yellow. Plays this shot pretty well, to be fair. And now it is only going to be 3 points of an advantage for Zhao Xington as he comes his way and makes his way back to the table. Nothing really that would attract the eye of a long pot, but you have to say still, you know, it's not going to be an easy option for him to be playing those reds into the main pack and trying to get that cue ball across the entire table length, although he's managed to do that pretty well, and finding once again that right hand side of the table and exploiting it super well, despite being quite tight in behind the yellow at that previous point, because of, you know, once again the yellow limiting any of those shots across the left part of the table. Had to do it next to the pink and was able to execute the shot pretty well. Similar task that Higgins will probably have ahead of himself, and the problem for him is, of course, the reds that Zhao Xington were taking are no longer there. So he needs to be getting really deep onto the cue ball from the point of view that I'm seeing, and maybe even trying to get himself to pot this red into the corner pocket. And he's tried to do that. Now needs the cue ball to bounce all the way and into the bulk line area. He's managed to do so, and now it is going to be down to Zhao Xington if he goes for a long shot opportunity, or does he try and get the snooker lined up in behind the brown. I'm not even sure that he can see enough of that red to be leaving a long shot for himself, but that's a bad shot that he's played. I mean, the brown was waiting for the cue ball to be meeting it, and in the end, somehow, Zhao Xington manages to miss the target, and it looks like he has left a couple of those reds to be available for John Higgins, and the Wizard now can try and take either one of those on. In terms of the safety play, I mean, make no mistake about it, they're not going to be available, but it still feels like a massive waste of an opportunity there from Zhao because the position is limited, and so you need to be getting those 100% chances for you to be taking those risks. You know, the Pink, all the work that he was trying to do on it, now he's gone straight into the back of those reds and closer to the black ball cushion than to its own spot right now. And Zhao missed a real chance there. Once again, you can see the replay, just too much of the angle, a rookie error. You know, he was adding a bit of backspin, but clearly it wasn't enough to neglect all the pace that the cue ball had before finishing in behind the brown. And when you have got too much of the angle and you avoid any sort of kiss and contact on the brown, the cue ball is just going to be heading across because it doesn't know that it needs to be behind the brown, as much as Zhao could have been telling those stories to it. And yeah, all of a sudden you find John Higgins very much with a stern chance of getting himself back into those safety plays. Now, once again, he's going to be quite close to the ball cushion, but still getting himself in with a chance of playing the reds towards the left corner and playing the cue ball super nice as well, and getting it even closer to the yellow pocket, limiting the options there for Zhao in terms of the long shots that could have been taken from his point of view. And it's now going to be all about trying to maximize the chance here of potentially the plan that he's looking at towards the right corner. And in the end, he looked at that one for a couple of seconds. Clearly didn't fancy that enough for him to be playing that shot, and just responds with nice cue ball control here as well. And pretty much duplicating the cue ball position that John Higgins had on the previous occasion. So Higgins now will make his way to the lower part of the table. Very weird position though, I have to say. 3 points in between the players, and yeah, it certainly looks nothing like the position that we've seen previously. And the previous 7 frames, I would say that frame number 8 was a similar start for both of the players, and it was quite a bit of lack of quality on some of those occasions. And by the way, talk about that, John Higgins now needs the cover from the yellow. He may have left the red over the pocket, but I feel like he manages to get the cover from the yellow that I was talking about. Ooh, does he? I mean, he's going to be close. But, you know, John Higgins clearly doesn't feel like he got enough of that. Once again, it is going to be down to potential, you know, colour, positional play, which Zhao needs to be keeping in his mind. And that's going to be the main problem for him here. He's not even looking at the red towards the right corner. His focus is going to be on the red to the right corner instead. And look at that for a shot. I mean, that's certainly going to be a bit of fortune, but loads of skill as well. Because remember the pack of reds that I told you about that was closer to the black ball cushion than it was to the pink spot. Well, he managed to separate all of them away, despite playing that shot with very limited power. And now he's going to be lined up on the pink perfectly as well. One shot can change it all. And snooker is going to be no exclusion in that rule, which is going to be relevant in pretty much every sport there. Well, it all comes down to the next couple of shots here, because Zhao got his chances from an absolute 50-50 to pretty much 80% zone, because, as I say, the pink spot is very much vacant of any one of those reds. And you can see once again the replay, the cue ball is tucked into the cushion, and he plays that red perfectly into the pocket. And look at that for a split. Misses out on the loose reds that he didn't really need to touch, and got a really good firm contact on the 5 reds that I mentioned to you previously. And Higgins played very good throughout the season, but Zhao in his prime, not a chance for a win title for Higgins. That is true, but once again, I mean, if there was no chance, probably Higgins would not be turning up to any of those matches, and also, you know, he probably wouldn't have a 4-all scoreline. I just feel like, you know, those are the chances that if Zhao is able to execute them, then it is going to be a bit of a thing for Higgins to consider. Well, what can I do about it? I can't really do anything, so I'm going to have to try and do my own piece of business. And so far, he hasn't really managed to respond with those fantastic time of shots there that, you know, win you the frames, really. As much as it's only going to be 16 points of advantage, he's got clear path ahead of him now. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reds potentially all available. So yes, 5 of them are probably going to be in the way of each other slightly, but I still feel like there's going to be more than enough room for that cue ball to be drifting in behind or alongside those reds. Though Zhao Xington clearly suggesting that he didn't play this shot to the perfect extent. And the fact that he's going to have loads of angle on the blue, despite being on the wrong side of it, probably helps a little bit. And he should have the chance to try and send the cue ball all the way to the right part of the table. So 17 points here in between the players. And Zhao just having a look at the remaining reds. Still, as I say, two of them are going to be right next to the black onto its own cushion. And of course, another thing for him to consider is that he is going to be sending this cue ball all the way to the top part of the table. So he needs to know and he needs to realize which one of those reds he's actually going to be playing for. And attempting to do the positional shot for. And this doesn't look too good, to be fair. He needs a bit of pace injection on the cue ball, and he's not going to get it off the side cushion. Now, he has got a bit of a worried look there, and well, a bit of a look as well, as if to say, well, I'm going to have to try and find a safety shot now. It doesn't seem like he's able to get through to the plant of reds into the left corner. Although, of course, the look that he had may also be suggesting that I may as well take this plant, though there's going to be so much distance in between those two reds, and also part of that pocket is going to be covered up by the red. So he's thinking about taking that plant on. You know, if he can see enough of that red, he should just try to power his way through this shot and get that cue ball to be heading towards the yellow pocket anyway. And, you know, in a good case scenario for him, he may have the green to try and pot into the green pocket. And unless that is going to be the case, of course, it is going to be a safety shot left out for John Higgins to try and play. And yeah, from this perspective, you have to say, shot time more than a minute. And it doesn't seem like there is going to be a decision there to be made, apart from just a safety shot being played. So, smart shot there. Doesn't have to invent anything at this stage of the match. And all he had to do was to miss the brown. Didn't really manage to succeed at that task, though. And I'll tell you what, I mean, he will be disappointed there as he walks away back to his chair, because I didn't say that for no reason. If he misses the brown, the cue ball line ends up behind the yellow. Right now, it's pretty much on the yellow spot, and one of those reds that he refused to try and play with a plant is now possible for John Higgins, and he could try and have a bit of a moment of magic himself to respond to the magic that we've seen from Zhao Xington's point of view. Now he's just looking all the way down the table to realise if that is going to be the case. So if you try and take this red once again, I mean, you are going to be sending that cue ball all the way to the dangerous part of those reds. So let's see what he's going to be able to do here, Higgins. I'm not even sure that he's taking the red that I mentioned about. He may be taking the one along the blackball cushion because of how close it is to the pocket. Look at that for a shot. Brilliant there by Higgins. And these are going to be the shots that are super important for him to try and challenge Zhao Xington till the very end of this matchup. Now, he is going to have a choice of either playing yellow, which probably is going to be a bit of a bad choice, to be fair, with how straight the cue was finished on that colour. And instead, he's got a better option of taking the brown here into the green pocket. Get that cue ball to be hit through the ball cushion with loads of pace. And once again, around the yellow, onto the right side. And it's a really nice shot there that he found. Once again, getting that brown to be on his own spot will certainly help, because at least he's got the spine now, apart from the black sorted. He's got the pink, he's got the blue, and then he's got the brown himself. So that is going to boost his chances quite massively, to be fair. Especially with the way that, you know, some of these reds are going to be possible, but ideally you want to, of course, try to stay on the pink. But with the way that he has to maneuver in between those reds, that opportunity may not actually be there with him at all times. So just taking the red, taking all the power away from the cue ball as well. Getting himself lined up for the blue. And now 60 points is going to be the difference in between John Higgins and Zhao Xington. And only, well, and still 99 I should say, available at the table. Good shot on the blue there that he's played, to be fair, because once again, he needs to make sure when he plays those shots for the blue, he doesn't really have a bit of a cushion where he's going to use the brown, because of it not having the angle to try and force that cue ball all the way down the table again. For now, he's just thinking about, you know, he's going to be close to those reds, so this time around, he may give him a chance to try and leave the cue ball for the ping, and at that stage onwards, he should give him a great opportunity to try and maybe do a little bit of damage to Zhao Xington as well. Because, as I say, from this perspective, if he is going to be able to get himself a gap of 30 points or so, it may not be the worst thing in the world, because of the how bad the remaining reds are going to be positioned. Another red about to be taken into the left corner. Plays that cue ball very gently towards the remaining two reds, right next to the black ball spot. And of course, Zhao would have been quite desperate for me, that I feel, to try and get that black very much re-spotted into its original position there. Not so much with John Higgins there, it would seem, although, once again, needs to be careful about those minute details. He's underrun for the pink. It's not going to be a problem just yet, because he can try and leave the cue ball with loads of side spin off the cushion to bounce away and finish quite closely to that red, but it is going to have to take a bit of a hit in terms of taking the easiest red away from the position. He's got 7 of those remaining, and ideally, of course, he would like to put at least 6 of them here. About to get onto the 7th one, as he's got 83 points left out on the table, finds himself 3 points clear now. 2 more easier reds, as I would call them. If you play those with a pink, you should have 2 more straightforward reds that can be taken along the black ball cushion, and then you can try and hit 1 more onto the left side all the way to the left corner, and at that point you are going to have to try and make some more damage to the positional establishment of the remaining reds. So just try and take the pink into the right middle, play the shot through the cue ball, and get himself to bounce away from the side cushion. Play the shot super well, because I mean, it's super difficult to be adding side spin on shots like that when you've got limited visibility of that middle pocket. And yet he was able to achieve the perfect outcome on 2 of those main factors, getting the pink to drop into the middle without it touching any of those jewels at all, and still having a nice position on the red, which, to be fair, he didn't really manage to utilize. 11 points advantage, and he is going to be lined up, well, in the pink, with a situation where he can try and roll this cue ball all the way to the left side, but he's not really going to be able to do anything more with that. So now 11 points for advantage here for Higgins. If it is going to be 17 points, still going to be at least something for him to try and hold on to. Needs to miss the red closer to the left side, and he's managed to do that. Brilliant shot. And, simple yet super effective, because now he got himself a really good position on this red. That probably is going to be the penultimate one that he takes. And, with 3 more reds after those 2, all of a sudden that's 51 points available for Zhao, and there's going to be around 30 points for him to try and chase if he takes those 2 reds with the colours. For now, Higgins just thinking about the way that he needs to try and, get an extension of the right fit for him. And at this stage, I wouldn't really be surprised if we are going to witness a bit of a playthrough shot on the pink, because I feel like that's going to be an easier solution for him to try and just drop that cue ball to be positioned for the pink into the left middle, and that will give Higgins a natural angle as well to try and do something with the last of the remaining reds, as I would classify them. Well, I mean, he's trying to do the backspin shot instead, which is fine, but I can't really see him getting on this red that I was talking about, right next to the black here. He's looking at the blue, which doesn't really help the cause because of how far away the cue ball is going to be from the blue, but he can try and pot the pink. It's not going to be an easy task, but he can try and do so. I feel like the biggest issue for him is going to have to be rolling that cue ball for the next red, and you'll have to settle for a 26 points of advantage, you would think. But the fact that he's considering to take the blue is absolutely beyond me because of how difficult that cup must be. As I say, he's got the line for that cue ball to finish nicely on the red to be taken, but this is going to be difficult. And he can't really afford to be missing those shots. Now he's got this one in, and, he got unwanted touch there on the jaw. And unless he tries to take it with a double, that is going to have to be a break over for John Higgins. And, he got himself into a bit of thinking time there. I mean, double is going to be on, and once again, with the way that you've got those 3 reds, I mean, I do have to say, I wouldn't really take this double on, because if you miss it, that red right next to the black is going to be a potential ticket for Zhao to be getting the other 2 into the open play. And with all the colours, apart from the black, being in very much a playable condition, it is going to be a risk not worth taking on there in the first frame of the second session. So in the end, it is going to be the break of 45 points, which still is going to be a good head start now for John Higgins. Gets himself at 23 points of a lead. And now it is going to be down to Zhao to try and get one of those reds to be potted. And straight away, there was no doubt that he was taking the long shot on. And this time around, he's going to be unsuccessful. Has to go back to his seat. And, well, nearly potted both the reds and the cue ball. But in the end, because of a double kiss, as the red was coming back towards the top part of the table, he potted neither of them. Sent that cue ball towards the black and 2 reds cluster. And 3 reds cluster, but now it is going to be only 2 of those reds because one of them has gone into the open play and may still be the red that John Higgins is thinking about taking on there into the yellow pocket. Once again, the risk is no longer going to be there, and the 23 points of an advantage is going to be very healthy for him right now because that will leave Zhao pretty much, well, needing to go all the way up to the blue on the total clearance. Right now, it's a long red that he's taken on, and he's managed to take it brilliantly there, Higgins. And 24 points advantage now. He is just going to be trying to eliminate those reds every single time after he takes this blue. He's probably not going to have the best possible chance to be taking the red. That has gone onto the top part of the table. Although, if he just, limits the pace of the cue ball here, he should have a chance to try and be taking that one with a long shot. In the end, he's tried to disturb the cluster of 2 reds and the black. And, surprised with that, I have to say. As much as he would need them, I feel like he could have left that opportunity for Zhao. Because, of course, when you try to split 2 reds away from the black, it's always a risk of at least one of them to be going over the pocket. And sometimes, you've got 2 reds, 1 black. Sometimes it is going to be the black. Sometimes it's going to be one of the 3 reds. One of the 2 reds, I should say. So instead, he's not going to be lined up on anything here. And, well, he may have given 4 points away here to Zhao. That's going to be a bit of a bad miss. Doesn't really matter. In terms of, he doesn't leave anything out away to Zhao. As long as it's not going to be a touch and ball, which of course it won't be, because of the contact being made from Zhao point of view. And he's now just going to think about the position here. And, we'll see what he can try and do with those reds. Probably he's going to be taking the position from here. Had too long to think about it. Not going to be worth to be asking Higgins to execute the shot again. And in the end, just a gentle touch there from Zhao leaves those reds to still be forming a plant, although it's going to be looking nowhere near the right corner pocket. So as much as it is a plant, it's not really any sign of a danger for either Zhao or John Higgins at this stage. So then, a little bit of a breakdown. That foul of 4 points does change the tendency a little bit. As we can see, the frame time is going to be over 28 minutes. Probably the longest that we've seen in the previous 8 frames before the start of this one. And, yeah, 25 points now is going to be the advantage. 51 still left and remaining at the table. So if you take 2 of those reds with expensive colours from Higgins' point of view, then he should not really be needing the last red. Of course, Zhao will need every single one of those reds. And the fact that John Higgins managed to get the black to be put onto the left side cushion doesn't really matter for him. Because, if anything, it actually matters for John Higgins. Because, as I say, he needs those 2 reds to be taken with expensive colours. Otherwise, he will be the player that needs another red as well. And for now, Zhao plays a good safety shot with the acknowledgement of the crowd. So giving the turn back to Higgins, managed to cover up the dangerous red at the top part of the table, which potentially certainly could have been used as a safety shot, but even potentially could have been used as a shot to be taken into the right middle. So now a couple of reds that John Higgins can try and send towards the right part of the table. And if he decides to go on the right edge of it, I have to say, he needs to be getting the perfect line here because minute misjudgment, and then he is going to be heading all the way to that dangerous red, and that what I was talking about. But in the end, the way that he caught the second red has actually helped on for him, and he still sent that cue ball to the opposite side of the table in relation to the red that I was talking about. But still, I said that red can be used as a safety shot. Let's see if it is going to be used as a safety shot, or is it going to be a potential cut available for Zhao to be taken into the right middle. He's played that on power. He nearly doubled it now. Is he going to be close to the left corner? He will be, but he won't go into the pocket itself. So it's a good shot there. Nicely played by Zhao. Back to John Higgins it goes. Of course, Zhao is going to be interested in trying to keep those 3 reds in the open play and basically take it to, it's a red battle. And those 25 points really are not going to mean anything if Zhao Xington is going to be able to get the first red in, get himself onto the collar with a clear-cut chance to make his way onto the remaining 2 reds. He doesn't need the black, and that's probably going to be the only color, apart from the green, that is going to be classified as massively out of position. And as much as the green, as I say, is not on its spot, it's still going to be playable. And transition onto the brown shouldn't be an issue from here. For now, the issue for John Higgins is going to have to be the factor of the reality that he's got ahead of himself, not really having the ability to try and disturb the 3 reds from the right part of the table. So he needs to try and do it off the left side cushion instead. And if you roll that cue ball all the way to the left part of the table, it can work out for you at some stage, but you probably have to say it is going to be a bit of a risky shot to be taking, especially if you get the long red with a contact to be made. Oh, I mean, has he played this shot well enough? I'm not sure, I mean, he's certainly going to be looking to leave a red out into the right corner, which if Zhao Xington sends this one away from the pack of those 2 reds, it is going to be a bit of a chance and invitation for him, certainly. And he also can't really see behind his back, but he may be able to get through to the red to be taken into the middle pocket, which probably is going to be even better of an opportunity for him. And in the end, the answer was no. That cue was going to be sent towards the green pocket. Doesn't want it in the pocket, though. And he'll stay out and pull up to the left side at the end, only for it to be bouncing on the right side cushion at the end of that shot. So once again, it's well played there by Zhao Xington. John Higgins acknowledging that and just thinking about trying to take those reds with the way that will send the cue ball all the way across to the left part of the table. 25 points right now is going to be the advantage for John Higgins over Zhao Xington. Not quite in the 50% zone that I was referring to previously, but it doesn't really matter. You could be sort of 40 points clear, and it's not really going to change anything because, Higgins for now is nowhere near on the last couple of shots to be trying to challenge for a long pot of a red. And if anything, he's trying to just make sure he's going to be able to stay in this frame. And it's a bit of a weird shot that he's taken. And I have to say, he may need to pay the price for it, because the same red that he's cannons all the way after a huge bounce of the cue ball, clearly that was planned. I'm not sure such a huge contact point certainly was a part of his plan, but the same red now is going to be playable into the yellow pocket. So it's a chance now for Zhao Xington to try and take this one away, and away he will. Take this one, and where's the cue ball going to finish? Is he going to be on the pink? He may just about be on the pink here, but that will depend heavily on the factor of 2 reds probably not being, tolerant to each other in terms of one letting the other go through. And you can't really place that cue ball to be positioned on the one closer to the pocket, so he's going to have to be taking the blue on, and that's a risky shot to say the least, especially how limited of an area he needs to be taking that cue ball all towards on. So he's thinking about taking the black one, which I have to say, as much as it's a risky chance, it probably is best chance of trying to stay on the break here, because the black will leave that cue ball to be on the left side cushion, which will compromise the pot, yes, but at least it gives him a bit of a guarantee that he'll have any sort of a chance of getting one of those reds in. But of course the black has to be potted first, and the black was spotted, so the cue ball is going to bounce away. I feel like that was a shot played on purpose to try and rattle the cue ball in the jaws and bounce it slightly further away from the side cushion. So then a bit of a look there from the referee towards the crowd, maybe some of them making a bit of noise. And let's see if Zhao Xington is going to be able to take this red, because that's probably going to be the last shot, which is going to be a problem. And the last shot is always going to be a problem because Zhao Xington is unable to take the red onto the right corner. And now it is John Higgins that probably will have the same red available, and doesn't really change the picture. He needs 2 of those reds to be taken with expensive colours, but John Higgins certainly should have a chance now to try and punish Zhao Xington for that mistake. He's still going to be in the lead, although as I said previously, it doesn't really matter. You know, if Zhao was leading now by 35 points, you'd still have to say that Higgins has got every chance, especially if he makes this red. I mean, he's thinking about two reds there, and he's stuck in between the two of them. One close to the left corner, but not close enough for it to be taken along the black ball cushion. The other one has to be taken all the way across to the yellow pocket. Which one is it going to be? Is he going to be playing a long shot at all? Or is he just going to have to settle for a safety play instead? He's taken this one and he's missed it. Now where's the red going to finish? He potentially blocked the brown to be heading towards the right side cushion. And the red, well, I'll tell you what. I'm not even sure I'm going to classify that as playable. Because somehow, it feels like the pink is going to be in the way of that red to be taken into the left corner. And the red is not really going to be possible into the right corner either. 10 start, yes, super tense. Super lengthy frame as well. And now is he going to be this red taken for Zhao all the way to the right corner? Well, I mean, that was ambitious, but that was opportunistic. And boundary on a bit of a weird shot. In the end, Zhao didn't really get too close to getting that red in. And I have to say, I feel like the hint was there from Higgins as he was walking away from the table. He wouldn't really apologise if he thought that that red was possible into the right corner, and the cut was probably a bit extreme to be taken in the first frame of the final. And for Zhao to be winning, well, let's see. 70% of you actually feel like he is going to be winning this title. So let's see if that is going to be the case. I still feel like he will, but those are the type of frames that will test both of them. And I'm a bit surprised, to be fair, that we've seen this frame to go this far without Zhao making too many of those reckless attempts. Yes, the previous red, as I call, was boundary on reckless, but because he didn't play that with power, and he was playing the cue ball for the color, not for the red, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. Probably just getting a bit impatient there, which is completely understandable. You know, already probably the longest frame of the final, and we're still down to the last remaining two reds here, without a guarantee that the frame and the frame will finish in the foreseeable future. For now, a couple of really good safeties there, especially the previous one from Higgins, deserves a shout out to be leaving the cue ball very much to try and find a gap there in between the blue and the pink for Zhao. Certainly wasn't easy. Zington was able to do so, but now there's potential for a long red to be taken from Higgins' point of view. He will be feeling a bit confident with the cover that he's got on the brown and the green, because, as I say, one of them probably not so much of an issue, but the two of them adding up are going to be slightly more of an advantage, although the shot that he's played, he didn't manage to get the red in, and he also cannoned the brown to be closer to playable position. That doesn't really help the case there for John Higgins. He needs to make sure he puts the brown closer to the right side and, well, doesn't do the opposite and leave it into the open zone. Look at that for a shot. Inventive. And look at that beauty there. An absolute brilliant and wonderful shot there once again from Zhao to be sending that cue ball all the way from the right to the left part and for it to drift to the green pocket once again. A brilliant shot in the making there. And it is going to be trying to take a red onto the left corner. And John Higgins should be having a chance to try and send this red to the top part of the table, with just leaving that cue ball in the position of the same red. Although he may have to just take this one thin on the edge and force it towards the left side cushion instead. Ooh, I mean, that's a really well played shot there, because I thought he doesn't really want to be getting too close to putting this red. But I'll tell you what, as much as it was a good shot, he's still done himself a bit of damage, because the previous one, he got the brown to be slightly further up the table and in a more playable situation. Now, he's done the same thing with the green, leaving out a chance here for Zhao. Of course, still the red that he was playing for previously is going to be tucked in nicely to the black ball cushion, but probably is going to be the only sort of a half a save point that you could call it from John Higgins' point of view, although he may not need that save point here. It's a horrible mistake there. I don't know what Zhao was thinking, but he was clearly trying to take that red into the left corner. A bit of impatience maybe creeping in there from the Cyclone. And John Higgins is going to be pouncing on the first red, but as I said, the biggest problem in this break now is going to have to be the second red, and John Higgins is going to need that red as well. So he probably doesn't need anything after it, because 17 points here. If he takes 9 points, he'll be 26 points, so he does still need the color after that red. But it feels like it is going to be an opportunity there that John Higgins certainly has been waiting for a long time. Now, Chance, good morning, 3:30 a.m. here. Will be a long night for you, Kel. Yes, exactly. I mean, no real sign that he's going to finish before the midnight. And of course, you've got work tomorrow. And yeah, going to be very interesting to see the way that this match is going to go. So far, by far the longest frame that we've seen. And still, it can all come down to the next couple of shots there. The black is going to be over the pocket, but John Higgins needs to make sure he gets that cue ball as close as he possibly can to the red. And, ooh, I mean, he got a decent touch there. I feel like it is now going to be down to take the red and then snooker Zhao Xingtong behind the black if he is going to be getting the shots. Although, from a different angle, he may suggest that he's got the angle to try and force that cue ball for the black, but make sure you can concentrate on the pot of the red first. Now he manages to get it. Yes, he does. Brilliant once again from Higgins. Delivering when it matters. Simple, but super important under pressure to be just rolling that red along the black ball cushion. And once again, have to give him credit for the previous shot that he's played. All the way transition that cue ball from the black. Using the side spin and the side cushion to the perfect extent. Now just make sure you finish off the job and you take that black without further complications. Not even trying to play for the yellow, I would say. Just to give yourself a bit of freedom. Because that will leave two snookers that Zhao Xingtong needs to try and find here. With only 6 of those colors available. Game on. And yeah, as I say, 5-4 is going to be something that we haven't seen from John Higgins previously. Look at that for a shot. So close, yet so far, but still such a good effort there to try and roll the cue ball in behind the green while sending the yellow all the way down the table. So it's a break of 22 points, which seemingly gets John Higgins over the line here. And he's going to be quite close there with Zhao Xingtong not touching the black as he makes his way back onto the table. Manages to lay a snooker though to John Higgins, so it's a good shot that he's played. And of course we've seen Zhao Xingtong having the ability to try and find those snookers. Yesterday against Mark Cullen didn't really help him to win the frame, but at least he had the bit of experience to try and test ahead of maybe a battle in frame number 9 here. If he's to somehow get those 2 snookers on John Higgins. For now, the first one is going to be found a way out of. And a bit of a fortunate kiss there as well, as the yellow comes all the way towards the center of the table. Manages to cannon the black out of the way. And actually uses that color as the cover point there. For Zhao Xingtong not to be seen enough of the yellow. For a like, yes, feel free to hit the like on the stream. We've got 4 frames each. And we've got 444 people watching. Then it's a sign that good things will happen. Hopefully, you know, it will have good things for us to be seeing here on the snooker table as well at Telford. For now, it's Zhao Xingtong that is looking for snookers, but also trying to find himself out of a snooker situation. And manages to have a really firm touch on the yellow for it to be straight in the face as the yellow bounces off the left side and still going to be super straight on the cue ball, even though there were a couple of touches in between the 2 of them. So back to John Higgins it goes. And should have the ability to try and play the cue ball all the way towards the left side cushion. And, well, this time it is going to be a chance for Higgins to try and get the snooker lined up in behind the blue. Judge the pace super well there, Zhao Xingtong. And now it is going to be the right side cushion for him to try and take all the way to hitting the yellow. It's a good firm contact. And once again, the yellow is going to be played towards the right side cushion. So no real sign, once again, that the frame is about to end. So we've certainly been here for a while. Let's have a look how much time there has been. 47 minutes since the match has restarted. That's incredible there. Because I feel like the average frame time before the start of frame number 7 was 40 minutes. That's going to be brought back massively ever since frame number 9 is about to be finished. Although you never quite know how long it will actually take us before it will be John Higgins or Zhao Xingtong to be winning this frame number 9. Still feels like massive advantage to Higgins though, and Xingtong is unable to do anything with the yellow for the previous couple of shots. Let's see if he's going to be able to do it now. And, ooh, I mean, favourable kiss of the brown, but still probably not enough to be seeing that cue ball in behind the ping. And therefore it should still be a chance for John Higgins to try and cut the yellow. Although he's more thinking about, you know, maybe a bit of a kiss off the green there for the yellow to be guided towards the green pocket. But of course, if you put the green onto the cushion, then That leaves only 4 of those colours that Zhao Xingtong can try and get the snooker in behind off. And in the end, that's clearly the shot that he's played. It's a really good execution as well. And he's going to have the cue ball in behind the blue for good measure. Once again, super safeties there that we've seen. Supreme from John Higgins and really good from Zhao Xingtong as well. I feel like the previous chances that we've seen. And amazing long time average was 18 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. It's not going to be now 18 minutes of the average frame time. But listen, it was always going to be at least one of those frames. I'm not surprised that we've seen more. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of those types of frames, but I feel like this one is about to finally find its ending. So, 33 points is going to be the advantage here for John Higgins, and he's got a shot off the yellow, which surely will leave Zhao Xingtong to remain in his seat until the frame is going to be over. And now, officially, John Higgins is halfway there to try and reach this title, as he is going to have 5 frames of an advantage towards his path there. And once again, he is going to be edging himself ahead by a single frame, but it's still going to be a lot better than the situation that he found himself in a couple of frames previously. Of course, it's the first time since the opening 2 frames that you see John Higgins to be winning 2 frames on the bounce, as that yellow shot is surely going to be at the end there. Zhao Xingtong is not going to be coming back to the table, and it is now John Higgins 5, Zhao Xingtong 4 at the Players' Championship. So finally we are through that frame, and I have to say it was entertaining. You know, it was a bit of a weird frame for us to be seeing, but at the same time, it was certainly enjoyable from the drama point of view. You know, it is going to be back to the basics there for Zhao Xingtong. Needs to try and get this one sorted. 550 in Australia. And advantage Higgins, real battle after game 12. Yes, agree, because I feel like if it is going to be 7-5 an advantage at that point, John Higgins is going to be the real deal. You know, he had a 5-8 of a disadvantage overturn against Mark Selby before last season, and now can he try and do a similar sort of thing here? Try and get himself edge out ahead. Once again, something that we haven't seen before from him this season, especially when it comes to those finals. He still feels like he's got, you know, very much control over those errors that have been inevitably creeping in the match of Weezer and Karen Wilson, but also it's going to be a bit of a dig towards Zhao Xingtong, but we've seen Wilson probably play his best match of the season, certainly that I've seen, apart from maybe the comeback that he had against Robertson right at the end in the same tournament, the Masters. He's played really well there, Karen Wilson. He was clinical, he was taking his chances, and yes, he was able to make the most out of struggle for John Higgins, but still, he needs to be there when the opponent is going to be presenting you with those chances. That's exactly what Wilson's done. Weezer in Nanjing in China at the International Championship, he was another example of one of the best, best performances individually in the final. I still feel like somehow Zhao Xingtong probably has to be taking the edge for me in the World Grand Prix campaign that he had. That was probably the best individual performance in the final this season. And honourable mentions have to be the likes of Mark Williams, although I feel like that was helped on massively by the fact of a struggle of Sean Murphy. And then another player that is going to have to be an honourable mention. I'm trying to think now. Jack Lisowski against Trump. Consistent. Really good standard of play as well. And just allowing himself to be staying in there and thereabouts. He wasn't in control throughout the entire match, but he certainly was leaving himself with a bit of an opportunity every single time. Didn't allow sort of Trump to be all the way and 5 frames clear or so. Now then, we are going to be heading towards frame number 10 to begin. And it is going to be John Higgins that has got the minor advantage. And it's him that has got the break-off shot as well. In the meantime, as I say, feel free to hit the like on the stream and subscribe to the channel if you're here for the first time. We are going to have the Welsh Open to begin tomorrow. And the coverage for it will resume in a couple of days' times as well. When we get through to the last 32 or even the last 16, we'll have to wait and see what the draw brings. Hopefully it will be just as entertaining as the Players' Championship here in Telford. Once again, one of the best tournaments that we've seen purely on quality, and you would expect nothing else with the right format, the right way of play, and the best 16 players on the 1-year list. And remember, someone that wasn't even supposed to be here, John Higgins, somehow is the player that is closest right now to the title. By the way, got another interesting stat to say. after Higgins takes his shot, just to ensure that he's not going to be taking the shot into the left middle. Just hitting that cue ball across and try and line it in behind the black, giving the turn back to Zhao. Yes, so of course, John Higgins wasn't even meant to be playing in this tournament, but when it comes to the last four, it was Mark Allen as the third favourite, it was Zhao as the second favourite, Watchalong as the favourite for the title, John Higgins was the fourth out of the four players potentially, and yet here he is, only 5 frames away, and got a frame advantage now on Zhao on his way to the title. Kevin with a super chat, thank you very much there, Kevin, for the support, and legend of the chat, someone that has been here from the very first round, and yeah, an absolute pleasure to be here with you, my friend. Thank you very much for the support to the channel. I did have a look, by the way, completely off topic, but I did have a look at the Streamlabs yesterday, so it worked for me, but still appreciate the contribution massively, and well, Zhao is not going to be appreciating that one, because while I was praising Kevin, not going to be praising Zhao for that particular shot, misses the red into the left middle, and now it will be John Higgins to try, and play the cue ball into this red, you know, probably one of the easiest red shots that you can possibly imagine, with the entire middle pocket to be aiming at. Higgins should be sensing blood here, and he could try and make this a real advantage now, because 5-4 it's a bit of a playing field. If he gets into 6-4 of a zone, all of a sudden, that is the real deal for John Higgins at that point. Thank you very much, Kevin, once again. So 6 points there. There's advantage for Higgins. Tries to get himself lined up on those reds to be taken into the left corner. Should have the ability to try and play this cue ball to the left part of the table. Gets himself lined up for the black. About to be taken as well into the right corner. So 14 points of an advantage when the black disappears. He's managed to get himself a couple more of those reds. And yeah, Zhao desperately needs to try and find that clinical part of his game back, because even though it still was very much advantage to Zhao before the second session has started, it is now going to be disappearing very quickly, especially if Higgins is able to execute this break really well. And he's about to try and do it now. Ooh, I mean, is he going to be on this red? I'm not sure that was the right shot to be playing, I have to say. Trying to force that cue ball into those reds straight away. And can he see enough of the red to be taken into the left corner? It's going to be the only chance that stands in between Higgins and trying to continue the break here. So, yeah, he's going to have to try and do something about it here. Still feels like, you know, it is going to be an opportunity missed and a real chance to be slipping away from him if he's unable to get through to that red, but he's not even thinking about it. I mean, he had a look at it before. He was bridging over those reds to see the angle that he had. Clearly, wasn't happy with it, and now just looking for the best possible escape route for him to play a safety shot. Once again, very disappointing from his point, is that he only scored 14 points there, but, well, surprisingly to me, I mean, it feels like he is going to send the cue ball to the top part of the table. No, he won't, so that was just the camera view. Thought he was going to use another red to try and send the cue ball all the way to the top, and I thought that was a suicide move there, because of 3 reds being very much in a dangerous play. Now Zhao is going to have the cue ball at the lower part of the table. So let's see if he's going to be able to play the backspin shot here. You know, maybe one of those reds to be sent towards the green pocket, although, once again, I don't really want to be taking this one with power. And if you take this shot into the green pocket that I'm talking about, you're going to have to try and add loads of that onto the cue ball to ensure that it drifts all the way to the black ball cushion. So, yeah, ideally would have liked to see one of those reds to absorb all the power from the target red. May even have to be forced into taking a risky move there of taking one of those reds into the middle. Is he taking it? Yes, he has. Brilliant shot there by Zhao. And when you think he's under pressure and when you think he's about to crumble, he delivers a shot like that. Brilliant there from Zhao. And, well, we're certainly going to have loads of enjoyment here, because we've certainly guaranteed to be seeing 5 more frames. And that count may be remaining there for at least 1 more frame there if Zhao is to be the winner. Guarantee 10-5 of a scoreline, which I feel like that was the prediction of Stephen Hendry to be heading the way of Zhao. Feel like before the second session has started, he wanted to change it to something more conservative, to 10-6, 10-7. Well, it is now going to have to be now or never for Zhao to respond, because, as I say, I mean, 5-4 is still a bit of a, scoreline that you can get away with. 6-4 against John Higgins, not so much. So you need to be trying to get this frame on the board for yourself. And now as he gets himself a break of 10 points, he's going to have, well, a lot of those reds really available and in a straightforward position as well. Now he's about to clean the blue ball line. So just making sure that those reds are not going to be in the way of the blue. It's very rare to see the blue that actually doesn't go into left or right middle. Now it will go into the right middle. And Zhao just playing for the black to ensure that he's going to be able to mix it up with those reds. So just take one of the easy ones, one of the more difficult ones as well, to ensure that he's going to be making some of the maintenance work over to the position. Now 4 points advantage here for Zhao as he takes another red towards the right corner, gets himself lined up for the black to be taken into the left part of the table as well. So 5 points he's going to be in this frame, but I feel like this gap is about to be increasing with a geometric progression now. Well, 12 points as the advantage now. And once again, you can count those reds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 easily. You could say 5 reds available there for Zhao, and he shouldn't be any more of a trouble. Then he's managed to basically make his way through that opening shot, but made no mistake about it. Just because I say it was a simple position starting from that shot doesn't mean that it wasn't an extremely difficult shot for him to be taking that red into the middle, barely a pocket's width for him to be aiming towards. The cube on the black ball cushion, no safety, no insurance. You miss this shot, all of a sudden I'm talking about John Higgins and a 6-4 of a gap. And right now it is going to be Zhao and a 5-all draw potentially on the horizon. He now has got a break of 35 points, which is going to be higher than anything that he's achieved in a previous frame. About to take the red from the pen cluster here, which will leave only 4 of those reds to be in the mix right next to the pink spot. And still remember, there are going to be 2 more reds by the top part of the table, one of them covering the blue from the left part of it. And still super close to the left middle. That's one of those reds that you want to save until last. And if you run yourself out of position, that's usually going to be your get out of jail card. And that's exactly what Zhao has tried to do. And look at that for an outcome. He may look like he only freed up 1 of those reds, but because of the structure of those 4 reds right next to each other, you clear 1 of those reds, and all of a sudden you have all 3 of them available to be taken. And once again, a bit of a bag on the stream. I have to say, I'm getting a bit of a worry every single time that happens now, because it's usually a never problem with the stream, and it's always a problem with the BT broadband. I still can't believe that it happened right in the deciding point of Zhao against Mark Cullen yesterday. That was the worst possible timing. But hopefully it won't happen in the decider if we are to witness one. I mean, fingers crossed in between Zhao and John Higgins here. But we are going, for now, all the way for this one not to be separated by either one of those frames. Barely a 2 frame of a gap that we've seen. In fact, we've seen it only once of a 2-0 lead there that we've seen in favour of John Higgins right at the start of the match. And now we're about to see a 5-all of a scoreline if this red is going to disappear, which it will. And once again, it is 1 red, which made this story very much the reality there for Zhao. And surely the thing that we want to see now is going to have to be a century break. No excuse now for Zhao. He's managed to win this frame. He's got 3 reds available and 74 points is going to be a reminder for him that he finally would like to improve on that break and try and get himself lined up for a very entertaining second part of this match as we enter officially the second part of this match. We are going to have 10 frames finished, potentially 9 more to come. Great shot that he's played in terms of the way that he was able to control the cue ball, get himself lined up for the blue to be taken into the right corner of the pocket now. And as I say, he was clearing the middle pockets only for the blue to be taken into the right corner at the end of that. And now gets the blue in, rolls the red right next to it as well. Now 67 points of an advantage, 81 points of a break. Frames are won due to mistakes by your opponent or due to 1 great long pot or pressure pot. Your opening red was high pressure, as Q on cushion is not easy for the middle pocket shots. Yes, absolutely, and it's still, that was one aspect, but how difficult must that have been as he's about to snooker himself, so we're not going to witness a century break, it would seem. Once again, it's an improvement, and it's a break of 88 points. but it's not even going to be the highest break of the match, and still we are going to be waiting for the century break to happen. But Zhao Xington certainly didn't have to get his fans to be waiting too long until he's back to it being the level playing field, and a race to 5 frames there is going to be his for the taking. It is now John Higgins 5, Zhao Xington 5, and still it is barely room there for either one of the players. Press the wrong button, apologise. Now it is going to be all the way for Zhao Xington to be taken. And listen, if he tries to build on that, that's absolutely fine. But if he's unable to do so, that means John Higgins is going to be coming back to the table. He had a real chance, and that's going to be something for you to look back on. Not going to be sort of regrets. He didn't miss one of those reds over the pocket. But the fact that he had that opportunity at the start of the frame, he was unable to make that sort of a pack split work for him when he was trying to put the black into the right corner, got that cue ball into the reds. Yes, he was always going to be playing for the one into the left corner, but because of how close he was to those reds, he could not see the red that he was intending to pot. That forced him to play a safety shot. A couple of shots later, you see the brilliant pot from Zhao Xington, and that certainly was the way for him to be going on about the business. Now 5 frames each, and absolutely nothing to separate the two giants of the game, as I say once again. So yeah, gonna have to wait and see if there is gonna be anything else that we haven't seen in this match, and it's something of a century break there, as I say. A lot quicker though for the second frame of the second session, and barely 15 minutes since it started, and then Zhao Xington was able to get another frame on his score sheet, and now the referee just trying to get the ping to be respotted. You're waiting for the announcement, and well, we're still going to be now halfway through the third mini session here of this final. Now just looking to make our way through onto the break of 15 minutes, which of course is going to be the last delay before the race to the finish line. But which one is it going to be? Once again, 9 frames in it, still no room taken and no quarter given. 523 points that we've seen from Zhao Xington, scored in the previous 10 frames. 428 for John Higgins, but I mean, it all comes down to the number of frames that you win, and so far it has been the level part of the scoring as well. By the way, feel free to hit the like on the stream once again, and subscribe to the channel if you are new to this content, and certainly be looking forward to the Welsh Open as well, if it is going to deliver the expectation just as far and just as well as we've seen the performance from, well, pretty much every one of the top 16 players, and even one player outside of the top 16 of the 1 year list. Certainly has been an absolute joy and great entertainment as well to be watching every single one of those matches, especially the semi-finals yesterday for all the drama. You know, not so much with the quality sometimes, but there certainly was a bit of that in some of the other matches as well. And well, on some of the occasions, these two players playing Tuesday in Welsh Open, yeah, I feel like that's going to have to be, I mean, to be fair, you're not really coming from China. So, I mean, there may be a way. So, let's see. I feel like we're always going to be winning this one. I feel like there's always going to be a chance to be doing a Mark Williams or a Neil Robertson, where you win the Saudi Masters for Robertson, and then you're not going to be playing in the Wuhan Open. Then Mark Williams win the Xi'an Grand Prix, and he wasn't playing at the British Open at that point. No, that was the other way around. British Open was before the Xi'an Grand Prix, so I feel like it must have been the Northern Ireland Open, potentially. Something like that. That Williams has seen himself withdrawn from. Now then, once again, it is going to be a long shot available here for Zhao Xington. The room is going to be minor, but at least he's got himself a chance. And, well, Higgins will be kicking himself. That was a cheap giveaway again. The match time is about to go over 3 hours. And Zhao Xington manages to find another great long shot. And he's going to get himself a bit of room in between the cue ball and the black to be taken into the right corner here. So let's see. If he gets really deep onto the cue ball, he should have the way for the white to be sending all the way across and get himself lined up for those reds. And, well, I mean, I'm surprised, but at the same time, I'm probably not so surprised there, because Zhao Xington just trying to stun the cue ball and committing clearly to a shot into the green pocket there. It wasn't an accident. It was a planned shot that he's taken. And look at that. Makes it look so easy. and once again gets himself back into the prime position. He was actually playing for a long shot, for it to be taking across 90% of the table length, diagonally across the table, and yet he didn't manage to miss a millimeter there. Not sure what that's going on in the background. 16 points there. Zhao sees the funny side of it. I feel like anything has been, well, maybe a radio, maybe something on there in the background just making a bit of a weird noise. Didn't seem to disrupt Zhao on the previous shot though, and now having to make sure he's going to be getting that cue ball all the way for the blue. And as long as the cue ball is not going to be dropped in to the right middle, he should be finely positioned there. And if anything, he's going to have a choice of the pink and the blue here. So gets himself lined up nicely for the next couple of shots here as well. So if you take the shot on the pink, I mean, that gives you the opportunity to try and maybe stun the cue ball for the red to be taken into the right middle. And at the same time, get yourself lined up for in behind one of those reds to be taken in the same pocket of the right middle. For now, though, the pink to disappear into the left corner. And, well, he decides to put a bit of distance in between himself and the cue ball. And that's going to be a bit of an awkward shot for him to be bridging over the blue. And I feel like that's a bit of a weird shot that he's taken, because he clearly has got no intention of bridging over the blue. But that leaves him with a difficult shot to be taken into the right corner as well. So it's a bridge over the blue and take the red into the left corner, which is straightforward, but, you know, of course, the difficulty of the rest and having to stretch out as well. Or you can try and take the red into the right corner, which is going to be having a bit of a more difficult cut involved. In the end, he's gone for the one into the right corner, and he's taken that one pretty well. So 24 points is going to be the advantage for Zhao, about to take the blue as well. Very similar for now to the previous frame that it would seem. Ever since John Higgins managed to score those 14 points, there has been 110 points without a reply from Zhao, taking the red into the right corner. He's going to get himself positioned on the black here once again. So 37 points is going to be the distance, and he still has got very much a luxury of 4 more reds that he can try and take one by one. That will leave only 6 of those reds available, although he hasn't played a good shot here, and he knows it. And, well, that's going to change the plan drastically there, because, yes, he can take this red, but, I mean, how on earth is he going to be able to try and miss the contact point with the other reds and try and play for the blue? I mean, he's gone really deep onto the cue ball, and that's a fantastic shot there. Yes, I know he's going to be straight on the blue, which doesn't really align with his perfect plans, but that's still going to be a really good recovery from the position that he found himself with on a couple of shots ago. Now, 38 points is going to be the advantage here for him. So 43 after the blue. 3 more reds available. And the first one is still going to be a bit of an issue, as I say. The fact that he's going to be straight leaves the cue ball unable to be moving closer to those reds. And he just about finds a gap there for him to be seeing the red to be taken into the right corner, which once again leaves him with a bit of, well, very little stretching to do, let's put it that way. And it gives him more of control of the cue ball, although he would not have liked to see the cue ball drift lower than the black here. And, well, once again, seems like it is getting a bit of a struggle there for Zhao to be getting himself into a prime position here. And the position here might force him to be trying to take the black and leave himself lined up into the contact mate with the main bunch. And you can see this one coming. And it was a bad miss from Zhao, but still, the damage was realistically done in the previous couple of shots. And yet how close he was. The black was always going to stay out just about there. He was thinking about dropping. Zhao was waiting for it to do so. And in the end, doesn't look like that is actually going to be the case there. So then, John Higgins back to the table he comes. But the previous shot by Zhao was quite a bad one on 2 of those occasions, because of course, unable to get the black in, but also does he manage to get himself lined up on any one of those reds? I mean, Higgins is going to be thinking about, okay, taking the red into the middle, but I'm not sure there is going to be a way for it to be taking this red. And look at that. I mean, this could be the shot of the final. An absolute brilliant shot there by Higgins. I mean, I was talking about this red to be taken into the middle, And look at that, what he's found at a gem. That red was heading towards the yellow pocket with every little chance of it catching the jaw and leaving that red over the pocket in the end. It is going to be a perfect outcome achieved there by Higgins. And Zhao may about to be punished for the previous mistake on the black. It certainly is going to be a bit of a sign there that John Higgins is going to be here to play. And, well, I mean, from supreme shot to a bit of a disappointing one on the black, I feel like the fact that he needed 3 cushions to be reaching the pack of reds, and the black was over the pocket. They didn't really have too many of those reds to play for. He's tried to use that black over the pocket as a chance for that cue ball to be sent into the reds, but because he's done it off 3 cushions and not 2, in the end that's taken all the pace away from the cue ball, and he's not going to be lined up on the red here at all. Top shot, yeah, brilliant. And yeah, by the way, on Tuesday at the Welsh Open, as far as I'm aware, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're going to have the final on Sunday, semi-finals on a Saturday, quarter-final on a Friday, last 16 can go on a Thursday, you should be able to... No, well, you're not really going to be able to be fair. You need the first round to be finished by the end of Tuesday, yeah, so you're not really going to be able to re-establish that, but at least put them onto an evening session on Tuesday, and that gives you somewhat close to 48 hours to try and recover. Maybe enough there, because, as I say, I still would expect on whoever goes on to win the title to be missing the Welsh Open and be trying to prepare for the World Open instead. Now, has Higgins finally decided to try and play for a safety shot, or is he going to try and go for this red into the middle? He's gone for the red into the middle. Has he made it? Yes, he has. Another brilliant shot there by Higgins. And now it is going to be a chance for John Higgins to try and get himself lined up. And look at that for a shot. I mean, it wasn't quite as good as the shot into the yellow pocket, but still. And, well, someone in the audience there just having their phone switched on. Well, I mean, Higgins once again looking towards the commentary section, which may suggest that, you know, it was one of the guys of the organisers or the staff of the WST just not switching their phones off, or maybe just an external sound coming there, but this is now a perfect chance for John Higgins. So, playing late Tuesday, so can if they want to play. Yeah, I mean, once again, 48 hours, because it's not going to be from Hong Kong Grand Prix to the Welsh. You could say there is an opportunity there, but we're going to have to wait and see. And you certainly can't criticise them. The pair of them have put an absolutely brilliant performance to be at this stage, and there's not going to be a shame in losing 5 frames at this stage and losing out the final 10 frames to 5, although it will be great disappointment. And talk about it, by the way, Zhao had already managed to do so before this season, losing out in the semi-final of the Shanghai Masters to Karen Wilson. And in the meantime, as I say, this position is still looking very nice there for John Higgins to try and make his way through. So let's see if he's going to be able to make any positive adjustments to it. Oh, he's about to make a negative one to it. And is he going to be lined up for this red to be taken? He just about is. And still needs a couple more shots to get himself back to square one here on this chance. And is he going to be lined up for the next goal? He is. Brilliant shot there once again. Just doesn't want their last red to be drifting close to the green. And, well, I mean, as much as that is the case, I thought for a second he was the one trying to, you know, put points advantage in between himself and Zhao, but of course he's behind, so he will need that red. So a good shot that he's played, but unfortunate with the way that he's pushed one of those reds all the way and very close to the green. He's going to have to try and focus on that later on, though. Try and get rid of the 3 easier reds, and then he should be able to get himself lined up with, you know, the top red to try and deal with. It should have been, not John, it will be 10-6 Zhao. Well, loads of people have been saying that, but once again, I mean, I wouldn't really say that if John Higgins wins this frame, he is going to be 10-6 Zhao. I feel like I said, I can't remember what I said actually, before this second session started. 10-7, 10-8? Can't remember what I said. I genuinely can't, and I can't even find it in chat there, so I'm going to have to go back and check it later. But I would have said 10-7 or 10-8 in favour of Zhao. And for now, it's not guaranteed that that will be the case, because it's another good shot there that Higgins finds. Is able to get himself lined up for the pink, and now 15 points. He's going to separate the 2 players, although Higgins needs a bigger of a bounce than this. And, well, 9 points still separating the two players. 10-7, thank you. Yeah, we'll have to... 10-7, wow. I should have gone for 10-8 because I know I was thinking in between 10-7 and 10-8. But, no, to be fair, I get what I'm saying because I felt it was going to be a bit of a deja vu. And Higgins drifting away straight away as the seconds have started. And, of course, for him to be winning that pretty much an hour long of frame was very important on his way to try and be a real challenger here against Zhao. Now looking to try and lined up this raid to be taken into the left corner. A bit of backspin needed for the cue ball as well, for it to be sent all the way across the right side cushion. And a bit of backspin needed on the cue ball. Oh, just about rolls that red in, but it ain't going to matter at this stage. It's all about just take everything that goes your way. And to be fair, it probably was just about the right thing for the red to drop in, because he did catch a significant part of that jaw, but with the line that the red was taken, it probably still was the right thing for it to do, to drop in. Of course, he wasn't actually doing it and deciding if he was going to drop in or not, but what I'm saying is it would have been cruel to John if he left that red over the pocket. Now about to make it 44 points each, 43 at the table right now, and 43 is going to be the points count for John Higgins. So as I say, had that red not been covered up by the green, it would have been a straightforward race to the finish line. Now he's going to have to try and disturb the little cluster of two of them. He will need the green, by the way. Remember, he doesn't want to be putting the green onto the right side cushion here. But whatever he does, hoping for himself that he will be lined up on the red when the end of the shot comes. And I'm not sure that is the right shot to play. I understand what he's done there. He's tried to get himself lined up for a snooker to be lined up in behind the green, but a bit of a passive shot there. And if he is going to lose this frame, I'm going to have to make sure to remind you of that, because he didn't really try to attempt to separate the green and the red away. Yes, he's going to have a difficult snooker lined up for Zhao, but always, if you have got a chance, always try and put your own destiny into your own fate there. Into your own hands, I should say. Well, Zhao, if he hits this red, by the way, and if he flukes it, don't tell me I haven't warned you, because John Higgins didn't even try to do anything with that red. And, well, to be fair, first attempt is not really going to be anywhere to be seen from Zhao. But, I mean, I don't really understand what John is trying to achieve there. Once again, I mean, it could prove to be the shot that leaves him winning this frame. Does he expect Zhao to be leaving this red? Because he should have played this shot differently then, because it's way too close to the pocket. So, you know, if he hits it away from the side cushion, that's not really going to have a great chance to be leaving the shred available there. And, of course, if he wants to try and win this frame on points, then it's going to have to be a different story here, because he's 9 points clear and 35 still at the table. I mean, Zhao has managed to hit this one from the second time. And once again, I mean, not sure what that was all about. You could say that Higgins can still try and take this red into the yellow pocket, but surely, you know, you could have at least given it a go to separate the red and the pink, the red and the green, sorry. Now, of course, all of that is going to be forgotten if he is to somehow find a brilliant shot into the yellow pocket and get himself lined up with the black. He's gone for it, and he's touched the blue on the way, which has actually worked out pretty nicely, to be fair to him. He got that red to be very much close to the bulk. Yes, fair shout. Should have tried to move the red. It's unpopular opinion because he's not done anything wrong, but I feel like I wouldn't expect anyone on the tour. You tell me 10 players, I would have expected Mark Selby to play that shot, maybe Mark Allen, but the rest of them, I felt like they would have tried to move the red first, and then if you don't do it, absolutely, I mean, nothing wrong with getting a snooker lined up in behind of it, but I just don't really understand what he was trying to achieve with that shot. 5 points is clear. Does he really expect Zhao to give him 30 points on foul shots? Or does he leave him to expect to leave that red over the pocket, which I feel like it wasn't really possible for him to do. Because if he keeps missing it, and if he misses it 3 times, that's fine. Because you'll still have a clear-cut line for that red to be taken. But I suppose he shouldn't really over-analyze that shot. He's taken a gamble. He could have worked out, and he could have won the frame by now. And he just played a really good shot there, which I have to give him loads of credit for. I have to say, I mean, it's going to be in between really good or fantastic shot. Depends on how close the cue ball is to the black, and Zhao Xingtong can't see this one. So the referee had a look. Let's have a look if there's going to be any sort of interaction there. So Zhao Xingtong just looking at this one, looking back at the referee as well. Well, looks like he is trying to get this one on a straight line. I have to say, from this camera angle, it looks like he's doing an absolute silly job there. Oh my god, he hasn't managed to pot it. No, he hasn't. Ooh, that's going to be a bad miss. Well, listen, I mean, you can say, and you can criticise him from my point of view, but John Higgins just managed to find a brilliant shot there, and certainly was really good. It wasn't fantastic, because the black certainly wasn't in the way, but he has forced Zhao Xingtong to make a mistake, and always going to be good if it ends well there for John Higgins' camp, because now he's got 9 points advantage. He's got the red over the pocket, and just try and finish the job off here. No one will ever remember the shot that he's played in behind the green. And Higgins should win frame 11 with 2 brilliant reds. Well, he's managed to force Zhao Xingtong into an error, and all he needs to do now is to try and avoid the unnecessary cannon on the ball colours, getting himself lined up on either one of those 3. And then at that point, 10 points advantage, he will still need, well, he will need the brown for it to be taken all the way. You can see rest shots in the match, 6 out of 6 there that Higgins has managed to take, and all of them have been potted. So the green is about to be potted as well. And of course, sorry, I forgot that you're going to have a colour after the green, after the red. So it is now going to be 13 points advantage. So as I say, it doesn't really change anything. He still needs the brown for it to be taken into 6-5 an advantage. But shout out to Higgins on the previous shot though, because that was a real quality safety that he's played, trying to get the cue ball in behind the black. Just about managed to put away there for Zhao Xingtong. And you can never judge and criticise the winner. And he's certainly looking on to be the winner of this frame here. John knows exactly what he's doing. He's a master. Yes, once again, as I say, that was my point of view. And I am certainly going to have to give the John the benefit of the doubt. He knows probably more than anyone in this arena, apart from maybe the likes of Stephen Hendry there, sitting in the commentary box. And, you know, he's done it all the time and time again. So when he plays a shot like that, there must be a reason for it. And especially, you can't criticize him even more when he's managed to win the frame that he's done that. Sort of a controversial call, you might call it. But in the end, he certainly got them the result that he wanted. Now, 22 points clear. So just roll the blue in as well. Make sure there's not going to be any snooker hunt for Zhao Xingtong. And it is going to be, once again, John Higgins edging out ahead there with a 6-5 of a lead over Zhao Xingtong as he takes the blue into the right middle. And it's now going to be a break of 18 points. So let's see if he's going to be able to roll the pink in. He won't, but he ain't going to matter now. It's a 6-5 of a lead for John Higgins, and Zhao Xingtong will have to try and do it all again for him to be coming back to try and make it another draw. 2-2, 3-3, 5-4, 5-5. Is it going to be 6-6? And is it going to be taken to 13th frame without anything to separate the players? Only 2 occasions this season I can think that this match has sort of replicated to an extent. You could say Zhang Anda against Zhao Xingtong, but I feel like that was a bit of a different one because Zhao Xingtong still, by this point, I feel like he had the edge over Zhang Anda, and he had a 6-4 and a 7-4 on advantage. Certainly had a 6-4, so, and he was just able to take that one all the way. Jack Lisowski against Judd Trump, that one was basically a trade of frames until the very last of those frames. And then Anthony McGill against Sean Murphy in the British Open, that one has gone all the way until it was 7 frames each before Murphy was able to find the cutting edge and win 3 frames on the bounce after a really dramatic frame number 15. Come on, folks, hit the like button, please, 600 on. Yes, thank you very much for everyone tuning in, and feel free to, as Kevin says, hit the like on the stream. It will be a very interesting couple of weeks for us coming up. And, I mean, it will be one of them, the Welsh Open, and then it's going to be a 2-week of a break before we are going to be heading to the World Open. Very much back to China for us, and then back to Manchester and the Tour Championship before the Crucible crown will return. And once again, it will be the best players on the tour trying to compete. Some of them maybe for the title number 8. Some of them maybe for the first title, and some of them, like Zhao Xingtong, the likes of Watchalong, Kyron Wilson, looking to finally land the second crown of their respective careers. And, well, Zhao Xington certainly should be an honourable mention for one of those equations, especially if he is able to re-establish himself and keep that form, which he has been showing time and time recently, and showing it here today as well. And still guaranteed there, we are to witness 4 more frames of the action. For now, we're about to finish off the first mini session and have the last break in between us seeing this snooker match and finally knowing who's going to be the winner and lifting the brilliant trophy and receiving 150,000 worth of ranking points and prize money. And once again, it will be a bit of a lift-off for Zhao Xington and John Higgins. I mean, it depends on which way you talk about it, because if you add 150,000 to Zhao Xington, he's going to be able to go over the top of John Higgins. And, I mean, it could have actually been one of those weird ones where, because Zhao Xington didn't really compete in this tournament 2 years ago, and John Higgins potentially could have won this one 2 years ago, then it would have been, even if John Higgins wins this one, it would still be Zhao Xington to actually climb up the rankings and still dispatching John Higgins as the world number 5. But right now, he guaranteed himself to be heading to the world number 6 spot, dispatching Mark Selby towards Sean Murphy. And now it is going to be the battle for the world number 5 spot, as now it's a break-off shot that is done by John Higgins. And once again, Zhao Xington needs to be the player that is playing catch-up, and he's going to be able to do it with shots like that. Once again, just seems to have the ability to be just playing around there with John Higgins, as if to say, well, you get that frame advantage, here I come to try and catch you back here. Of course, it's a dangerous game to be playing, and Judd Trump will tell you that, because Jack Lisowski was able to find himself on the sort of winning cutting edge of that final that he had, and in the end, despite forcing the decider from Trump, it was Lisowski that was able to find the maiden ranking event crowd. And also, another thing about it, even if you are playing catch-up all the way and you do it perfectly, well, there's always going to be a factor of, at some point, there's going to be one miss. There's no guarantee that your opponent will miss the same way that you have done. And, you know, he can always just come back to the table and try and get himself lined up for a more straightforward finish line. For now, once again, seems to be a bit of shouting there in the crowd, or maybe the mobile phones going off, whatever it was. It certainly attracted the attention of both Zhao Xington and the referee. And doesn't seem like, to be fair, he has done any damage to Zhao Xington here, though. About to make it 14 points as he takes another red into the right corner. So, it is a real skill if you're able to keep your opponent behind or level with you, because I've seen numerous matches like that, and the semi-final of John Higgins against Watchalong was the perfect example. As much as there was drama, as much as there was an absolute pressure on Trump in the 10th and 11th frame, it was always John Higgins that found himself at the top of that match, and he was never Judd Trump. And that was the real skill. And I certainly feel like that was one of the main reasons why it is John Higgins now being 4 frames away from the title and not Judd Trump himself. So, Zhao Xington needs to be trying to finally find the cutting edge there of not only being able to get this gap down to being non-existent there, which certainly will help at this stage, but also to try and find himself edging out ahead there, which he's managed to do once in this match so far, but once is not really going to be enough for him. Ooh, let's see if he's going to be getting a bit of a slice of luck here, and I'm not sure if this red is going to be playable, but that shot has gone horribly wrong there for Zhao Xington, and he got an unwanted kiss on the red, pushed it pretty much close to the right middle, and from the angle that it seems from this perspective, he may be taking this one on there with a double. A bit of a risky shot, I have to say, and, well, boundary on reckless, really boundary on reckless, because, like, he was always heading that cue ball to be leaving out a red there for John Higgins, and that was a mistake. And Zhao being disturbed by someone in the crowd, I see him turning on seat on 2 occasions. Yeah, I'm not sure about it, because there was a couple of frames before where John and Zhao were doing that, but he felt like it was coming from the commentator's box. Anyway, back to the most interesting part of this frame. Reckless that was. You know, if you take a double, if you know a thing about taking a double like that, you need to make sure you don't take your full power because it affects massively the bounce of the reds. And that's something that Zhao didn't really keep in his mind. And of course, the way that he sent that cue ball all the way for him to be leaving a red potentially available for John Higgins wasn't cool either. And now Higgins gets the black in, he's tried to send the cue ball into those reds. And it looks like he's going to be getting away with that mistake there, Zhao. Only 21 points of a deficit there for him, but at least John Higgins is not going to be able to try and find his way to winning this frame from this visit, it would seem. Having to play a red onto the right side, although I have to say, this looks like it's a bad shot from him as well. And, well, I mean, that's a weird shot there. Once again, it probably matches the weirdness of the shot by Zhao there, because it was a red hit full in the face, but he was never going to finish anywhere but over the pocket. So let's see if Zhao is going to be able to take this one. And he wasn't. Wow, I mean, are we going to be entering a bit of a zone of Mark Allen against Zhao and a bit of a frame that we've seen on the frame number 8 there, where everyone was missing those chances, because that red you would expect Zhao to be making 9 times out of 10. I mean, 10 times out of 10, really. Clearly feeling that he's not too comfortable there. And let's see if Higgins can try and find his way to one of those reds. This certainly could be the turning point. And, well, a chance for John Higgins to try and break away the sequence and break away from Zhao as well. He's thinking about taking one of those reds towards the right corner. He's still going to be the second best for now, but that's only going to be the case until he's going to be named the player with a chance here to try and get himself lined up with a break. And if that is to be the case, it is going to be a really dangerous asset if you're going to find John Higgins trying to set the pace to the remainder of this frame. Because as much as there are so many reds for him to try and take advantage of, and also, you know, the same reds that where he can go wrong, at least he's going to be in there with a shout. And it's certainly going to be a great rest shot for him to get started with. Remember the stats, 6 out of 6 prior to this point. Is he going to be 7 out of 7? It looks like he will be. And he certainly will be. Without even touching the jaws, they're brilliant from John Higgins. And once again, Zhao needed to try and leave those mistakes in the first session. He doesn't seem to have done that. And John Higgins, even though he has been showing signs of him not being perfect either, he clearly has been the more clinical of the two as well. And let's see how many points he's going to be able to execute out of this chance here. The first couple of shots are going to be the most difficult part here of this break, but once again it could be down to one shot which changes the entire picture, and this shot could about to be here off the blue, trying to send the cue ball right into the pink with a bit of power, making sure the contact is going to be firm with him. And I mean, that's borderline again. It's probably unlucky with the way that he didn't manage to get perfectly lined up on either one of those reds, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be too concerned about it. So he clearly has got one of those favourites to be taken. Can he just about get through to the red close to the left corner? Because if he can, Zhao is going to be in trouble. And it looks like it is going to be a chance for John Higgins to try and do all the damage just in this red, and a good position on the blue. And he's not got the red there. Wow, loads of drama again. And it's coming at the right time for the fans to try and savour that one in. And it's coming at the wrong time for John Higgins, because that could have been the difference in between trying to finally find his way with the gap there to Zhao. A big frame, big miss. And a plant now available for Zhao to be taken into the pocket. Well, hammers the red home. I mean, what is going on there with the players? Why on earth would he try and hammer that red? I mean, that red, the red that he was playing onto, the one that was covering the left corner, seems to now have been in the way of the cue ball. And that's certainly going to be disturbing the position on the black. Yeah, why on earth would you try and even do that shot? And, well, it's all going off here. It's 16 points advantage for Zhao, but you'll feel like he should have won this frame on a couple of those occasions already. And yet he still has got absolutely no guarantee that he's going to be heading into the last intermission with it being all square again. Big frame certainly has turned out to be. I mean, I can see it in his eyes. I can see what he's trying to do. He's going to go for this green all the way. Once again, 80% of the pocket of the table width to be covered. But he probably hasn't got the form to be entering this shot. But does he have the power? Does he have the technique? Yes, he does. Brilliant there from Zhao. And that should eliminate all sort of mistakes that he's made previously, because that is a shot for you to be holding on as one of the shots of the final. Once again, it probably is not going to be just about as good as the shot that we've seen from Higgins, but now just make sure you are going to be clinical, and he misses the red like that. Straight away, brilliant green, straightforward red into the corner, and he's unable to do anything with that brilliance on the previous shot there. Big shot and bottle. It was, but didn't really last there. And it was a bit of a plastic bottle in the end. So, yeah, I mean, he'd done the work for one of those shots. Didn't really done the work for any more of those shots there. Oh, no. John plays at a slower pace, while Zhao plays very fast, hitting the ball in seconds. Zhao doesn't like playing with slow pace player. He prefers a more energetic game. Disagree with that. Because as much as he is going to be taking a bit of time on those shots, I feel like Higgins' average shot time has been 26 seconds overall in the previous in the first 9 frames of the match. 20 seconds for Zhao. It's not quite as much of a distance in between the two of them as you feel, because you know, Higgins has scored lesser of points, so that means he's going to have lesser of table time on the attacking display, and that means that Zhao was always going to be in there with a shout of trying to be the attacking force. I feel like he was quite fortunate not to be leaving anything easy away to Higgins, but he still left him with a chance. Is he going to be taken? No, he won't. I mean, I have to say, the intermission must be coming at the perfect time there, because the batteries may be running low there for John Higgins. But, I mean, the same has to be said about Zhao. He's had some brilliant shots in this frame alone, but he's had some absolute horrors as well. Now he's got another chance to try and get himself back to the frame. The Reds don't seem like they're going to be an issue, and he's just trying to make sure when he gets that chance with a brilliant shot like that, as he manages to get himself on the blue here, it is all going to be about just trying to make sure you steady the ship and you get yourself lined up onto the easy part of the work to finally be accomplished. The previous red looks like finally it is going to take him over the tipping edge though. 25 points advantage, 83 at the table, and 4 easy reds that you would expect Zhao to be taking. Although, as I say, we've seen that one before, and that story didn't really end with a cliffhanger for him. 26 points here for Zhao as the advantage, about to take the black into the right corner as well. Has got the pink as a potential cover-up for the red to be taken into the left corner, although, as I say, that seems to be the red that Zhao has played for, just making sure his position of the cue ball has been exactly as he planned it to be. So he's about to probably get the pink to be respotted, although he has got the minor angle, which may just leave him with a chance to try and play the shot towards the black, get himself slightly higher up than the straightforward line for the black, and drop the cue ball for the last of the easy reds which I mentioned onto the black ball cushion. And then he can always try and clear up another red which sits over the yellow pocket right at the very top part of the table. But for the meantime, you know, make sure you get this red in, because that's probably going to be the last shot where he can go wrong for the 6-all of a scoreline to be the case. Now, to be on the wrong side of the blue is going to be the perfect outcome, and he's just about on the wrong side, which is fine. As I say, that red, which I'm talking about now, is going to be closer to the ball cushion and very much close to the yellow pocket as well. So takes the blue, no problem, and he's going to be right next to that red. So 47 points advantage. He needs this red with the brown to be taken for him to have a 52 points of a lead at least. And then from that point onwards, it should be just a bonus shot if he's able to split the remaining 3 reds away from each other. But in the end, listen, when you're not playing well and you're struggling for form, make sure you're winning, and then nobody can criticize you as well. It does look like, barring the blue, it is going to be 6 frames each, and so the blue is in. The split of the 3 reds was in there as well, and well, it doesn't really look like he's going to have a straightforward red to be taken into the left middle, but at least he gives himself a chance here. So time and time again, we see great difficult pots and somehow see relatively easy pots going astray. Well, unfortunately, that's the part of the game. Sometimes you're not going to be concentrating so much on the pot, but look at that. I mean, certainly loads of concentration gone into that shot, into the left middle, and that was the perfect execution as well from Zhao Xingtong's point of view, and that will leave no chance and no invitation back to the table here for the first mini session of the second session here for John Higgins, as the referee is about to respot the pink again. Good game certainly it is for the third mini session overall, and as Zhao Xingtong rolls the penultimate red as well, can still make this one a good break. You know, an 80 plus is going to be on the line if he makes the remaining 2 reds with the pink, and then makes a total clearance after that. He's going to have 6 of the colours very much on their spots and waiting for that to be the case. Still have to say, with the way that this match not really been low on the high scoring breaks, it's a bit incredible that we haven't seen a century break there from either one of the players. And now just try and take the black into the right corner, no problem at all. The perfect angle on the cue was there. As the referee just making sure that Zhao Xingtong is going to be walking his way towards the shot of the yellow before getting the black out of the pocket. So the yellow is about to be taken as well. So that's going to be the nice little thing for Zhao Xingtong to be ending this mini session for. Because, as I say, we've seen a draw of 2 frames each, 3 frames each, 4 frames each, 5 frames each, and now about to be 6 frames each as well. Barely a gap there in between the 2 players. Edging out ahead there has always been John Higgins, apart from that 4-3 lead that Zhao Xingtong had on one of those occasions. But it looks like, well, he's not going to be able to hold on to this one for much longer, because 3 shots are going to be the distance in between Zhao Xingtong and the total clearance. Another break of 80 plus points that we're about to witness. Rolls the pink into the right corner as well. And now just all comes down to this black, and it's been a really nice break there from Zhao Xingtong. After all the mistakes that he's made in this frame, he is going to be forgiven here, because it's a fantastic frame once again at the end of it by Zhao Xingtong, as he takes the black, makes it 83 points of a break, and it's now going to be 6 frames each. Wow, the setup could not have been better, and if I did say 10-7 in favour of Zhao Xingtong, I maybe forced to eat my own words there, because John Higgins is still very much knocking on the door to be taking this match right till the end, and the same has to be said about Zhao Xingtong. Barely a centimetre when it comes to those 2 players, and total points is going to be the only advantage that Zhao Xingtong has got over John Higgins, and in 15 minutes time we're about to find out which one of them once again will have to try and edge out ahead of the opposition. Is it going to be John Higgins, or is it going to be once again re-established for Zhao Xingtong? Once again, for everyone that is tuning in, thank you very much for all the support, and feel free to hit the like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. See you in 15 minutes time. Don't turn your back on this one, because this got at least 4 more incredibly exciting frames for us to be seeing. Speak to you in 15 minutes time. Stay tuned in. The best of action is yet to come.
Uno, dos, tres, hey!
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you
Welcome back everybody, and once again we are going to be welcoming the players back onto the arena. The final sprint to the finish line is here, but which of those two players is going to be the one to cross the finish line? And that's a fantastic way to pot the colour of the break off, although it doesn't quite count for Zhao. But joking aside, that is a horrible way to get this last mini session started. And well, very rarely you see something like that to happen on the break off shot. You know, when the blue is going to disappear into the green pocket because of how much you missed that shot by. And you can see Zhao would have seen the replay of himself, and now he's going to have to try and, well, hope really that John Higgins will be kind enough to him to offer a chance of one of those reds to be taken. For now it is John Higgins that will have a shot of those reds, especially the one next to the right side rail, that he can try and roll, although once again the angle on the cue ball probably is not going to be his best friend here, needing to make sure he bounces away from the side cushion to get that cue ball lined up for those reds. And in the end, ooh, I mean, quite fortunate not to be leaving anything out there after missing reds, and yeah, of course, compromising himself massively on the angle. And Zhao will have a look at the way that the reds are positioned, but they'll be very surprised if he's able to find anything that looks appealing enough to him to try and do anything with those 15 remaining reds. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. And straight away, here the blue went. And I'm a big fan of John. Fair play. Zhao will win turn 8. We'll have to wait and see, but certainly it looks like it is now going to be, you know, one of those Welsh Open matches there when it comes from this point. 6 frames each, raised to 4. And the question is he going to be 7 frames? Is he going to be 4 frames? And if that is to be the case, then who's it going to be to take all 4 of them away? And as I say, only 2 of those matches that I remember, you know, very much Jack Lazarski against Watchalong for it to go all the way until, you know, players sharing and trading those frame wins. And yeah, don't worry about what's happening at the table. It's just going to be a bit of a, well, rolling the cue backwards and forwards away from those reds. So certainly going to have the audio on to make sure it's not going to be any of one of those foul shots from the players until we're going to agree on the rear rack. So Amir has hi, hello. And yeah, Zhao will just be thinking about the way that he wants to try and go on about the business. Go on, Zhao, said Richard. And yeah, as I say, I feel like it is. Ooh, I mean, that's an interesting one. So it clearly touched the reds, but the referee called a foul there on Zhao. So I would like to see a replay why that was a foul, unless he feels like it was a push shot or was a double contact with the cue. So let's have a look at that. Well, if we will, on the replay. For now, John Higgins is just thinking about maybe initiating a planned contact, because with the way that he's looking at this shot, he should get the dangerous reds out of the way anyway. And if he gets himself positioned on the black, this could be one of those cheap chances for him to finally break the deadlock. Oh, that's gone horribly wrong. He wasn't even close to getting that red in. And, well, he certainly will regret going for that shot, but there must have been some sort of a miscue. He was nowhere near the line that he was talking about. And, of course, when you miss it by so much, you're not going to be able to control the places where those reds will go. And, well, one of the reds has finished over the pocket. So, once again, it is going to be a chance for Zhao to try and take this one away there from John Higgins. And after a couple of lengthier frames, a couple of quick ones as well, let's see which way is this frame going to go. 9-8 of a deficit for Zhao, so about to go level on points after giving 9 of those foul points away to John Higgins previously. One of them was after break-off on the blue. The other one, of course, was making, well, I'm not really sure what happened there. Maybe a push shot, as I say. Maybe a double contact with the cue onto the white. Whatever it was, he still potentially, incredibly, could go for a 147 here. Despite, you know, 9 points gifted to John Higgins. And, you know, it was actually John that had a first real chance to try and get the first red here of the 4th mini session. And in the meantime, It's going to be another chance here for Zhao to be getting those points away. Remember, he did go for a 147 attempt previously, had a break of 81 points on one of the previous frames in the first session. Didn't really help the case where he was running out of position there on a couple of those occasions. It wasn't by much, but it clearly was enough for him not to have a clear-cut chance to be taking this one all the way to actually making the maximum, although, you know, he's managed to take 4 reds with 4 blacks. As much as the position probably is going to be slightly more difficult than the one that I'm referring to, he's still going to be in there with a chance because he's got a couple of straightforward reds that you shouldn't really have too much of a problem for playing with a black. We're back. The wizard is sticking. Well, it's an interesting one, as I say, because I'm really surprised with the shot that John Higgins was taking at that point, especially with, you know, it looked like he was still going to have the ability to try and leave that red over the pocket. In the end, didn't really go. Zhao, go, go, go. John, go, go, go. Well, it's split in the chat. 65% feel like it is going to be Zhao to win the title. 35% feel like it is going to be very much John Higgins to be on the top of the snooker mountain come the end of today. Maybe even the start of tomorrow, if we are to go beyond the midnight point. 2 hours since the match has started here, and still no real sign that these are going to be the quick 4 frames for Zhao or John Higgins to be getting through. But as I said, I mean, the maximum shout was never really on there for Zhao, and he needs to make sure that he takes this red into the middle, and he hasn't done so. Wow! I mean, that probably has to be one of the worst misses that we've seen from Zhao, because he came out of absolutely nowhere, and he's going to give a chance away to John Higgins to try and do something about it. Oh no, Max. Well, there is not going to be a maximum break, but also there's not going to be anything available here for Zhao to try and consider the break to be resumed. It is going to be a very strange miss that he had into the middle. Now, it is going to be a bit of a stretch shot now for John Higgins, so make sure you get this red in. The cue ball should be coming his way through those reds, getting himself lined up for the black as well. So 30 points of a difference. Poor, well, probably is a fair comment to be fair. And this is now turning into a great chance once again for Higgins to try and do something about this one in favour of his own sake. Because once again, he's got so many reds that are going to be a problem, but also, you know, once again, you have to say maybe a couple of shots to this position, and also you have to say maybe there are going to be a couple of plants or reds that you don't feel like are going to be possible, but Higgins is going to say, well, they are, and going to go for them anyway. And yes, let's have a look. The way that John Higgins is going to be able to respond. Maybe he's going to have another mistake similar to the one that Zhao has already showcased. Can still be taking place here in frame number 13 out of potential 19. If this one is to go all the way. And Higgins is clearly not going to be happy with the way that he's played this shot on the reds. It was over the middle, very much helped on by the fact of Zhao missing that red previously. And it looks like he was trying to give himself an angle on the blue, and he clearly overrun for it. So Higgins now is going to have to try and go back to plan B if he's got one. You know, plan B maybe just being the fact of trying to take the brown or the yellow and try and get it down the table. So just hit the cue ball across to one last of those reds that he has got available. Closer to the left side, yes, but at least he's going to be a chance to be taking that red with a rest, which he still has got a perfect record from. 7 out of 7 in this final. Finds himself 20 points behind here, and still just about hanging on to staying in the break here. Going for an extension and surely needing a rest. Once again, the fact that he's going to be quite straight on this raid. I mean, ideally, he wants to be hitting the cue through the white and getting it closer to the black. And then he should have the chance to leave himself with a bit of the angle to try and disturb the remaining 7 reds, very much next to the pink spot. For now, he's taken this red, just about rolls this one in. I mean, it didn't really take any chances, as I say, trying to take that one with power. So let's have a look what he's got available to him, because he needed the angle on the black, and I feel like that's not really going to do the business for him. I mean, potentially could try and play the shot on one of the lower reds to be taken into the green pocket or into the right middle as well. But it feels like it's not really going to be according to the plan there for John Higgins. But I suppose the plan realistically went out of the window by the point where he was unable to get himself perfectly lined up for the blue. And now it's all going to be trying to just stay on the break here for as long as he possibly can. And even when he doesn't, make sure you don't leave anything easy away to Zhao. So then, an important shot coming up. He needs the position on the blue as well, otherwise it's all going to be down to nothing. Although he may be freeing up another red to himself into the right corner, but he can't just keep doing that. He needs a one good shot into the main bunch of reds. And in between that shot and John Higgins is still going to stand a very difficult red into the right middle. It's a very similar one to the one that we've seen in frame number 10, I feel like it was, from Zhao, where he was able to clear up and make a break of 80 points from that point. Now, he needs this red to go in. Higgins doesn't have the advantage of a frame now, but he is going to take another step towards potentially having that advantage by the end of this frame. Brilliant shot there, and very important as well for him to be doing it in this time and this point of the match here. As I say, those type of shots were not visible against Weezer or Karen Wilson, and Higgins already manages to put himself as close as he's been in those two finals to finally getting another title this season. Although a step forward and two steps backwards there, it would seem. A shot of the blue, at least he gave him a chance, to be fair, but it wasn't really a chance taken because, you know, a shot on the blue went not really well from the start of it because, as I say, as much as you try and stay in charge of the cue ball where you take a bit of the pace away, I always feel like that's going to compromise yourself on the entry point and also on the exit point because you just don't have as much of a room created in between those reds. Therefore, you compromise your chances of trying to get yourself re-established with this position. So now 6 points of difference in between the two players. And the first couple of shots are really going to be important there for John Higgins. Tries to double the red towards the top part of the table. And for it to finish pretty much on the bulk line. Doesn't look like he's left anything available here for Zhao. Of course, he would have tried not to do that. So then, 74 points in between the two players. As you can see, 75 points left and only 6 points is going to be the difference in favor of Zhao. So, yeah, I feel like the previous break of 40 points really was the point where it has gone wrong for Zhao because, you know, as I said, there was no reason for him to missing that red. He wasn't even trying to stay on the maximum because you clearly sometimes you have one attempt in the match. Sometimes you don't have any of those in the final. But he's had one of those in the first session. And as I say, that miss on the red was clearly one of the worst shots that he's played in the entire match here. Especially for the price that he could have paid. And John Higgins managed to get a firmer contact from the blue onto those reds and get the cue ball all the way down the table. At the same time, you know, it is just going to be John Higgins watching on towards those reds and having a look. Maybe he's going to have a couple of those available, to be fair. And from that point onward, he should have a really good chance to try and go for a long shot potentially here. Because you can see the position that Zhao finds himself is not going to be comfortable here. Because the reds are spread out across the table. So it's going to be one chance. And if this chance and this red is taken, this could be a great opportunity for John Higgins to be taking this frame. But it was a big if there. Very much over John Higgins on that shot. And he's unable to take this red. And now it is going to be Zhao coming back to the table with an easy work ahead of him. And maybe for the second time in this match only, it is going to be Zhao once again back to the top there. Certainly being ahead and in charge of this match. It was a shot which probably should have been taken. In terms of, it should have been an attempt from John Higgins. But also you have to say, he should have been probably trying to pot that red. And the answer of not potting it probably would not have been acceptable at this stage just because of how much there would have been at stake. And that clearly was the difference in between, you know, if Higgins makes that shot, he's always going to be on the black. He always gets those 4 reds to be available that Zhao has got very much with his sights now. And the advantage of 10 points or something that he had at that point of Higgins taking that red on would have been absolutely nothing. And instead, Higgins doesn't have a frame advantage here. And Zhao is only going to be a couple of shots away from having that frame advantage. And, well, just because he was leading in the previous couple of occasions, still, technically doesn't mean that he can't be 3 out of 3 matches which are going to end 10 frames to 6 in favour of Zhao Xington. Because if he's able to go on only the third run in this match, where you have got player winning 2 frames on the bounce there, of course the opening 2 were won by John Higgins. Then he had a situation where he was 4-3 down to Zhao Xington. He was able to win 2 of those frames away. And apart from that, it's all been just you take a frame, I take a frame as well. Now it's another great shot there, which surely is going to be the last missing piece there, which was a straightforward there, but just nice for Zhao Xington to finally get the pink out of the way of the red. So he's now got 31 points of advantage with a break of 25 points here. So you take the pink and 1 more red, and at that point it is going to be snookers needing for John Higgins. So you can see 37 points ahead and just waiting for that cue ball to pull off in behind the red. Once again, I mean, could have been closer to it, especially for it to be a frame ball. Should still be taking this one into the left corner pocket, but just ensure you're going to have the blue as a potential cover point as well, in case you miss it. Oh, this is going to be tight. This is going to be tight. And he's missed it. Wow. This is going to be a very disappointing end to Zhao Xington if he is not to be the winner of this frame, because it has taken absolutely ages for that red to reach the pocket, and you could analyze a couple of times there. You thought he was going to be into pocket, then you thought he wasn't, and now it is going to be John Higgins taking the shred away, and well, let's see if he's going to be able to pot this one. It's still a mid-range shot, and he should have the position on the black waiting for him, and he will have the position on the black waiting for him. And now, well, this is going to be taking a turn. Forget about judge jump against John Higgins. It is Zhao Xington and John Higgins delivering all the drama here. And 8 shots now separating John Higgins, and a frame win here, because all Zhao Xington needed was that red. And in the end, well, John Higgins now needs 8 shots starting from here as he takes the black into the right corner. He's got 35 points ahead of himself, and he's got 29 points of a difference. Goodbye a steal. Could be a steal. Well, certainly it could be a steal now, and it should be, with 6 colours being all on their spots. Could have done with the cue ball being slightly lower than its current position there, because of how far it needs to travel for it to be lined up for the yellow. So all the way off the right side, get that cue ball across, make sure he's going to be using the left side. This is good. And if anything, he's played this one with too much pace, he would seem, and he's just about going to pull up in time. It's another great shot there by Higgins, under pressure, delivering. Something that you can't really say about Zhao Xington there. Another beautiful black that he's taken. Now he's going to be lined up on the yellow. So we'll just try and keep it simple. And you're not really going to have a better chance of having a frame still like that. 70 points, 71 points that Zhao Xington has scored, and yet it still could not be enough there for him. And, well, now 5 shots away. Green about to be taken. Just try and slow the cue ball down. Maybe even play towards the brown with a minor effect. Now 22 points, and Zhao Xington may as well make him comfortable, because he doesn't look like he is coming back to his seat. To the table. He's going to have to try and stay in his seat till the frame number 14 will start. And John Higgins may about to be closer to reaching this title than he has been at any stage of the season. He only has got the blue, the pink and the black in between himself, and that being the case, the blue is taken. Always a bit of a nervy wait when you've got that cue ball to be bounced away from the black ball cushion. Now for him to be only 1 point away there from Zhao Xington, just once again making sure that he hasn't done his maths wrong, and he only needs these 2 colours. He's going to be lined up perfectly on the pink despite all the weight that I mentioned. And now the black for the first major steal to be completed in this final. And what a time and what a stage for that to be the case. John Higgins, that is going to be certainly one way to be only 3 frames away from the title and the Players' Championship crown. It is John Higgins that delivers at the best possible time for him. It is a break of 43 points, which gets him over the line, and Zhao Xington will certainly be feeling that he should have been the one to be taking the lead into frame number 14. Instead, it is John Higgins that has got a great chance to try and maybe build on that momentum and establish a bit of a lead of his own. In the meantime, wow, that's a big steal, GG's 2-frame. That's big, yes, absolutely. And once again, he manages to get himself ahead by the edge there and by the skin of his teeth. But once again, only once in those 13 frames we've seen Zhao Xington to be leading. And apart from all the draws that we've seen, it has been a bit of a John Higgins show. Once again, only 3 frames away. Remember, at any stage this season, he wasn't anywhere, well, he was close to being at this stage. 4 frames away he was at Weezer's match. 4 frames away he was against Karen Wilson. But every single time, the second that he was 4 frames away, the next frame was won by his opponent. And in the end, they were taking the title in Nanjing and the Alexandra Palace in London as well. So now he is going to be finding himself only 3 frames away here. Zhao Xington, though, needs to be making a bit of a decision there on himself and needs to be making finally an improvement. You know, we were talking about it. I was talking about the improvement that you need to see from Zhao, and I was expecting to see, realistically, if he brings up the form of the World Grand Prix campaign and the performance that he had against Zhang Anda, he would have had to be cruising on his way to the title here, and instead needs to try and battle his way onto finally, once again, trying to get himself within the touching distance of John Higgins and, well, making this very much a level playing field again for it to be, well, 7 frames each here. Critical to lost hand right now, yes. Now, every single frame that you lose from this point, especially in such manner, is probably going to be doing loads of damage to you, but at the same time, you will be giving a moral boost away to your opponent at the same time, so bear that in mind. And I mentioned there was a critical frame in the British Open, the match that has gone pretty much all the way there with Anthony McGill having the ability to set the pace to that match. In the end, Sean Murphy was able to just think that will win the very important frame of number 15 for him to be heading 8-7 of a lead. Well, it's not too far away there from John Higgins doing a similar sort of a frame win at a similar stage here. It is now John Higgins to be breaking off for 14 frame to get underway. And now can he try and finally find that 2 frame of a cushion to be re-established next to his name? Or is it going to be Zhao Xington that will once again be able to level the playing field up and get himself to be level on the score sheet for it to be 7 frames each? For now, he's got a couple of long reds available as a bit of a tendency from John Higgins' break-off. Nothing too easy, but certainly going to be worth a look there for him. And he's tried to take this red, and once again, I mean, if he's going to be on the black, this is going to be a great shot, but ooh, unfortunate with the way that the red has cannoned away from the black ball cushion and gone in the way of that cue ball. So he's going to have to try and play a safety shot instead, but it's good to know that he hasn't lost his touch of the long shots, although it's not so much good to know that he nearly potted the cue ball from the yellow. I know he was trying to get the white across towards the yellow pocket, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't trying to do it to this extent. And now it's a break of a point there, which ends the visit to the table from Zhao Xington, but he might have joined him, you know. Not sure about it, and I feel like if he is taking this one to the right part of the table, he should be alright, but as I say, very close there to being jawed by the left side from John Higgins' point of view. Costly miss by Zhao. Not sure which one you're talking about. If he was in the previous frame, then he certainly was. And for this frame, he didn't really get himself to be lined up for the positional play on the black. And now it is going to be 4 points given away. But more importantly, is it going to be a free ball given away? Ooh, this is going to be tight. The referee will have to make a decision here. Now then, I am going to say it's a free ball to me. Let's see what the referee thinks about it. So, well, he doesn't think so. Okay, it's quite interesting. So yeah. Of course, Zhao Xington will use the ability that he has got to try and put John Higgins back into his previous position and to ask the attempt to be redone. So, as I say, it was a big call by the referee. There was not a lot of argument from Zhao Xington's point of view, so clearly it was me that was seeing that picture wrong. And yeah, anyway, it is going to be back to Zhao Xington, and of course he is going to be giving the turn back to John Higgins here at the same moment. where he realizes where it's not going to be a free ball opportunity. And Higgins is going to have the cue ball to be re-established again. So once again, I feel like with the way that he's jawed himself, he doesn't really have a 3 miss rule to be applied to him. So with the way that he's trying to take those reds by the edge, looks like it's going to be the exactly same story. And well, this time he's playing with fire there, I tell you what, because this could be a free ball now. And this time, there's not going to be any sort of a debate there by the referee. It is going to be a free ball given away. And I tell you what, Higgins should have known better by this point, I feel. Let's see what he's going to try and do with this brown here, Shoutington. I feel like if he tries to roll this one, you give yourself a bit of a shot to nothing, because you're always going to have the yellow to be taken into the green pocket, and that's exactly what he's done. It could be a costly mistake there from John Higgins' point of view. And Shoutington has managed to take a red away, and well, I mean, not red away, but technically taking the brown with the value of the red, and now about to position himself for the green as well. Get that cue ball down the table. This could be a very weird way for John Higgins to try and get himself closer to the finish line, because of, as I say, the way that he's gone on about the business previously. So just try and take the red here into the left corner. Make sure you're going to be able to play the shot for the blue, and he's able to do so now. So just playing the cue ball all the way across for the blue to be taken now. So looking at the position which has got available of a couple of those loose reds. Not too many of them though. Once again, having to be aware of the fact of the pink and the black being covered up by those reds. And still, he mustn't believe, just lose belief in himself there just because he was making mistakes. It's not really going to be something for you to try and concentrate in the middle of the final. You need to try and trust in your ability to be able to turn the page on this performance. And, this is going to be a very interesting shot to be analysing, because let's have a look how many reds he's actually got himself to be on right now. I mean, the pink is out of position, the black is out of position as well. And I feel like he has got a couple of those reds to try and pot into the left corner, but, I mean, he is playing a bit of a game, which he can only lose at this stage, I have to say, because of how difficult it must be for him to be playing for the blue all the time, although he's managing to get a really nice shot here. Tough table, eh? Well, it's a really tough table. And now let's see if Shoutington is going to be able to get this blue into the left middle. Playing that cue ball all the way with a huge bounce of the ball cushion. Making sure that he's probably going to want the cue ball to be super close to those reds, with giving himself a chance to be lined up on at least one of them with an angle, which will give him a clear-cut path towards taking the blue as well into the pocket. And this is going to be a mistake, which is going to be very costly there by Shoutington. And you can see in the background John Higgins storming his way and back to the table. Didn't really expect this one to be missed by Shoutington, but could be a bit of pressure, could be a bit of complacency, or could be not playing too well in the entire final here. This is a great tactical match. And well, it's about to get even more interesting. 4 hours now since the match has started for the pure playing time, I mean. Looks like John Higgins will have to try and find a plant into the left corner, which clearly suggests that Shoutington hasn't left anything easy away to him. So the plant is found. Now let's see if there's going to be a position on the blue found as well. It's not going to be this time, but with the cue ball just having the ability to go past the blue, it should have a chance to try and play the green into its own pocket instead. And now once again, I mean, just because he's going to be 24 points behind Shoutington doesn't really mean anything here. Although he may do if he's going to be running himself out of position, but as long as he's still in there with a chance of getting this break to be sorted. So just realising where the position of the pink is to make sure he's not going to be able to touch it with his cue or with the waistcoat. So play the green in. He should just about have enough of the angle to force the cue ball to be slightly lower than the blue ball line to get the red away from the blue, to be impacting the third most expensive colour at the table. And realistically now, his best chance of trying to make this the break that counts for him. And you can see Shoutington is going to be disappointed now. He's probably gone beyond the stage of, just looking to try and find a performance. He needs to be trying to get himself into the grinding mode and just, even if he's not going to be playing super well, just make sure you take an extra second on the shots and just get yourself without missing those easy reds there, because I mean, the ones that he keeps missing right now at this stage, probably not going to be classified as a bit of an issue. He just seems like he takes them for granted, and you know, you may just need a couple of extra seconds, a couple of thinking, you know, ideas about the way you need to be taking that red on. You know, I'm not sure about it, but whatever it is, it's certainly causing him a lot of damage in terms of points, and it's giving John Higgins a lot of a boost there, because now as he uses the green to bring the cue ball down the table, it's going to be just a matter of time until one of them will try and get the black into the open play, and that's going to give him the best possible opportunity to try and make this break the one that actually wins him the entire title and the championship as well. So then is he going to be trying to the disturbance of the black here? He won't. He needs the cue ball to be pumping up the pace though, and he hasn't got it, so he's going to have to try and get rid of the insurance policy. He's got one of those reds right next to the right corner, which he would have liked to try and leave till the last, but with him being super straight in the blue, and if anything, probably being even lower than the center point of it, he needs to try and get himself lined up for this red. Let's see if he's going to be just taking all the pace away from the cue, and he was. So clearly it didn't feel like it was a need or an ability for him to be playing the cue ball all the way around the table. Needs a pink or black out to win. Yeah, probably. But for the time being, that's not going to be something for you to keep in mind of, because, I mean, the position is bad enough as it is. You know, if you're going to be thinking about trying to disturb the black on the pink, because the pink is impossible to be disturbed right now, because he hasn't got those easy reds over the left part of the table, so he needs to be playing for the ones which are going to be straightforward. But I feel like for as long as he can, just try and play for the blue. And wow, don't miss a red like that. I mean, I said that was the banker, that was the insurance for him, and he's still unable to take that red. And we may be entering into a bit of a just get yourself over the line zone. 14 points for Higgins. As much as it was a difficult position, it was quite a bad underachievement. Any shot is missable at this stage, and Zhao needs to be finding this red into the left corner. Of course, he has got a fine edge over John Higgins for the simple reason of him having those 12 points advantage now as he takes the red into the left corner. He's going to be on the wrong side of the blue, but straight away you can see no hesitation, just trying to hit the shot as soon as he can. Needs this red to be missed by the cue ball, and ooh, I mean, he's going to have a good think about it. He's going to have a good look at the position as well of the red to be taken into the right corner, and he feels like he just about can see enough of it. He can't see the entire red, but he only needs to see the left part of it to be taken into the right corner. And, well, that's what it has potentially, could have got, I was going to say has gone wrong, because the cue ball catching one of those reds closer to the left side, but in the end, the bounce that he got of the red just about had enough of the power for the cue ball to drift all the way for the blue. So it's now 18 points of an advantage here for Zhao. So if he takes the blue here, he's going to have two more straightforward reds for him to be taking, two more blues. And at that point, you have to say it is going to be a significant advantage, especially at this position, for him to try and hold on to. Phil Zhao slightly losing his way. So far, only one visit. No, I feel like there's been more than that, but probably in this session, yes. So, but you feel like, you know, when you are getting through and you've played so many of those frames, you can't really expect the players to be, you know, producing those breaks like robots. And, ooh, that's going to be the end of this break. Just as I say that, a break of 13 points will still feel like a significant thing, but you'll probably feel like a bit of an opportunity missed as well for Zhao. Bound to play the yellow away there from the cue ball. Get himself lined up in behind the brown. And he's now going to be all about just trying to take and place that cue ball onto the ball cushion. And it's now going to be at 24 points of an advantage for Zhao, with 75 points available at the table as it stands. So Higgins about to take the red to the left part of the table, you would see. Once again, his shot that he's managed to execute pretty well on the previous couple of occasions. Trying to hit this one super thin on the edge, but I should probably not have said that right before he hit this shot, because, I mean, that was the commentator's curse. If I've seen one, he hit that one super thick on the edge, and he knew it. As soon as the cue ball left the tip of his cue. He knew that he didn't hit this one as well as he could have. And, well, that's going to send the cue ball right into the mix-up zone of those reds. And once again, I mean, Higgins must be feeling pretty happy with the way that he's got that frame advantage, because he doesn't seem to have the form that he's had in the first session. And remember, it was all down to one costly miss from Zhao in the previous frame, and that gifted that frame away to Higgins. He may not be using himself as a charity here though, because he's inevitably going to be getting closer to getting over the finish line. Although, I mean, don't play shots like that, whatever you do. And, ooh, has he managed to get away with this one though? 32 points of an advantage, and it looks like he has. So he got unwanted touch with the back of 3 reds on the cue ball, and with how little pace there was on the white, he's taken all that pace away from it. But because he was drifting across the table to the right part anyway, it just allowed him to be seeing enough of the gap for the red to be taken into the left middle anyway. And if you're following the scoreboard, by the way, you can see just how quickly he's taking those shots. And I'm not going to be sort of amazed about the way that he's taken the blue, because he had the right angle to try and send the cue ball down the table, and yet unable to get himself lined up perfectly on those reds. About to take one into the left corner here. Took the pace away from that one and manages to play the shot pretty well. And once again, Zhao is only a couple of shots away there. Although, remember, that was the story in the previous frame before he's missed that red into the left corner. But surely it's not going to be the repeat of that scenario. Although whatever he does, he needs to make sure, you know, he's got this position under control. And the way that he's taking even more than 10 seconds on this one, he may be too straight on the black for him to try and force that cue ball to go all the way across and in behind those reds. Oh, I'm not sure he's done enough there. I mean, he was trying to play the simple shot into the right middle instead. But he's going to have a bit of distance in between the cue ball and those reds. And also, he needs to be seeing enough of this cut for it to go in. The red is taken, and he's going to be in the pocket. Brilliant shot there once again at the moment when it matters. And that is going to be the frame ball at the same time. 47 points of an advantage there for Zhao. And now about to take the blue to make sure there's not going to be any chance for John Higgins to be coming back to the table. It is another quick frame there. Loads of errors, loads of drama. And once again, a different winner there. Zhao just would not let John Higgins to get away from him. And it is going to be another quite a dominant frame win there. Despite, you know, on the scoreline basis, despite him needing 2 chances there and having a couple of those reds missed along the way at the same time, he's still going to have a break of 34 points, which will get him over the line and make it the scoreline of 7 frames each. You know, we're down to the last 5 frames potentially to be seen there. The red is going to stay away from the left corner. There's not going to be a reason for John Higgins to continue, and both of the players will go for the bathroom break. It is 14 frames in, and still no guarantee that we're going to know the winner's name by the end of the next 3 frames. It is John Higgins 7, Zhao 7, and is it going to be the repeat of the British Open and Anthony McGill and Shaun Murphy? A bit of a break-off at that point. One of the players was able to win it. It was the higher rated seed, but McGill was outside of the top 32 at that stage, and he still is. So it was always going to be, from the odds point of view, Murphy's final to lose. I feel like if it is going to have to be one of the players, it may just about be Zhao, because once again, you feel like there is starting to get a bit of a feeling of fatigue there from John Higgins' camp. There is not really a fatigue, but just a lack of, you know, fluidity and fluency from Zhao point of view. It doesn't seem like he's free-flowing as he has been on a couple of those semi-finals occasions, certainly in the World Grand Prix in Hong Kong. But he's still clearly doing enough there for him to be edging out those frames against John Higgins, and now finds himself back at all square, 7 frames each. And by the way, thank you very much for everyone tuning in. Once again, we've got 147 likes, which is perfect for a snooker channel. So feel free to change that number if you want to. And let's see if we're going to be able to get to 155 before the next frame is going to end. So 547 points that you can see scored by John Higgins in sorry, that was a bit of a while ago. 604 scored by John Higgins in total of the previous 14 frames. 826 points scored by Zhao. And I'll tell you the story that he tells you. Even though the highest break for John Higgins is technically higher than Zhao, it just tells me the story that the frame wins that Zhao Xington has taken have been quite far in his favour and quite comfortably in his favour. Whereas if you talk about the case of John Higgins, sometimes the frames that he's managed to take away from Zhao Xington have been the frames where you thought Cyclone is going to get over the line and was super close to doing it. But in the end, it was a couple of those steals that we've seen from John Higgins doing that right to the death on a couple of previous frames as well. I felt like that was the frame number 13 for him to be heading with a 7-6 with an advantage. And when he had that frame ball being missed there, Zhao Xington, and it was 71-70 of the final scoreline. Listen, if Zhao Xington wins that frame, all of a sudden now he's only 2 frames away from the title, and he doesn't need to be winning 3 more frames there, as now Zhao is going to be back to his seat. So just waiting for John Higgins to come back onto the arena as well. And then it will be a frame number 15 to get started. Come on, Zhao, you can do it. And it's going to be 10-9, either can win. Yes, that is true. So 64%, that percentage slightly going down there from Zhao Xington's point of view. 150 before this session has started, 144 before the final has started. But, I mean, I feel like the further we are going to be getting, the closer it is going to be in between the two players. 157 right now for Zhao Xington to be lifting the title. But you feel like if he has got any sort of extra fuel left for him to try and take it into the next gear so that he can use a bit more of it, get into the faster engine mode, he needs to be doing that now. Otherwise, John Higgins can always try and just, you know, be taking those frames one by one, but at the same time frustrate Zhao Xington and be playing the patient game, which probably is not going to be called the best attribute of Zhao Xington's game. So then it's a good break-off, you would seem, from Zhao, because he manages to make sure he's not going to have any one of those easy reds available over the right corner for John Higgins. So let's have a look if he's going to have a great chance here to be taking this red into the right corner. So just thinking about it and then just going against that option. So the cue ball has to be sent towards the red into the right part of the table. So he may actually be able to see enough of this red to be taking it into the right corner, because, as I say, if he can't see enough of it, I can't really see the point of him taking that shot on. So he clearly could see enough of it because he's managed to overcut this one. And now Zhao Xington will be coming back to the table. Despite not having a clear-cut chance, he still has got a couple of options there, although them being in the same red, that he can try and drop into the left middle, or he can try and play into the yellow pocket instead. So let's have a look at the way that he's going to have to approach this one. 15th frame now, loads of things are going to be at stake, but also momentum is going to be a very important factor here, although it doesn't seem like it's a factor that either one of the players is going to get, because the red into the yellow pocket is going to be missed. The position on the black wasn't really there anyway, and it is going to be now back to John Higgins to try and do something about it. So it is now going to be 7 frames each in between the players. Still yet to get on the score sheet in this one. Both had the long shot chances, and Higgins gave up on the 14th frame. He didn't really. He just couldn't do anything about it because of the mistake that he had, and Zhao Xington was finally able to do it from the second occasion, but at least he was able to get himself over the line. And now Zhao Xington is going to have to try and come back to the table. He's got another long red available. Not sure whether that was left on purpose there by Higgins, because it could be still a very dangerous thing to do, to leave out a long red available for Zhao Xington. I've seen a couple of those being taken against Mark Cullen in the semi-final. Right now he's going to be able to send that cue ball to be behind the green, so played that nice shot there, to be fair. And that's going to be the referee's job to try and memorise the position of the cue ball in relation to the blue and the green as well, in case of the shot being missed. And yeah, John Higgins just looking to see the way that he's got the cue ball lined up in between the blue and the green and the pink. There's 3 colours there that he can try and potentially make his way down the table. So let's see if that's going to be the way for John Higgins to go on about the business. He's tried to take it. It's a big bounce of the cue ball. Ooh, he's going to be really pacey for it to try and get away from the ball cushion. In the end, he's going to stay inside of it. But the similar sort of a shot that we've seen John Higgins to attempt as his first shot of this frame is now going to be available for Zhao Xington. to try and take into the right corner pocket. So once again, loads of backspin and try and get the cue ball across the table, and played from the wrong side of the black. Now he deserves a bit of kiss after a brilliant long shot that he's played, and he is going to be on the black now, and this could be once again another start for Zhao to try and get himself with a frame lead, and he'll be the exact opposite of, he was 4-3 up, and of course he can't really have a 1 frame advantage duplicated on that, but he's going to have 4 frames later that he's managed to win, and in the end, total of 7 frames later than that, he should still have a chance to try and have 8-7 of a lead if he's able to make this break the one that gets him over the line. But there are a couple of difficult reds there. The black wasn't really too easy either on him, that he had to take into the right corner. So far, all the shots that he's taken, with the black about to be the 4th one there, have been into the right corner pocket, so using loads of backspin for the time being, and about to take the red into the same pocket as well. Once again, loads of speed here for Zhao, and once again, the black is going to be taken into the same pocket again, so 6 shots there, all of them into the same pocket, 24 points that he gets, and this time around, finally, he's going to be playing the cue ball on the right part of the red, which will make it take it into the left corner right now for a little bit of contrast. Zhao has always pursued victory from behind. Well, yes, that is true, but also you need to realize that you can't always be coming back there, because if your opponent has got the edge on you, then they always have got the ability to just be waiting for a mistake and then just try and get yourself over the line there. So many of those matches that we've seen, sometimes you just have one of the players trying to play catch up, and in the end they're always able to, so they force a decider, and they do it throughout the entire match. But in the end, it's the decider which is going to be a 50-50, a battle of the opportunities, and then the player that has dominated that match can always just try and go on about the business and still get themselves very much lined up into the decider win. For now, a bit of a time taken in this shot by Zhao, because he clearly doesn't seem like he's going to be too happy with the way he got himself positioned on the black, pretty much too straight, I would say. So the cue ball has to be taken into the pink. Needs to make sure he doesn't use too much of the jaw though, because we've seen that pink being missed into that middle on a couple of those occasions. Yesterday from Higgins, and from Zhao either. We've seen that red being missed into that pocket right at the start of the first mini session. No max. Well, I have to say, probably, we've seen a couple of those opportunities, but listen, it was never going to be a maximum break, and realistically, Zhao shouldn't even be thinking about it, especially after the break of 81 points, where he was actually super close, and being on the maximum, in the end didn't really turn out to be a century break either, with him missing the black into the right corner pocket. So for now, he's going to be getting himself a 32 points of a lead, so just trying to grind out those points and make sure you are taking it on a step-by-step basis, and trying to get those blacks in without further complications. Ooh, he was using the entire pocket there once again. So that was close. But the black drops in, which is going to be the only thing that matters. And with a couple of previous shots, by the way, that he's played, he manages to make this position look like it's a straightforward path there for him to be taking this 8-7 of a lead, because he can easily say that he's got 3 more reds available, and he's just played for 1 more of them, which I didn't even count there, for it to be taken along the black ball cushion. So let's see if he's going to have the angle to try and force that cue ball to be positioned on the black. He certainly will. So just concentrate on missing the front jaw of the pocket, and don't touch the cushion either. Play the shot pretty well. So now it's going to be 48 points of an advantage. And as much as it's not going to be a maximum break, it's still going for a potential 1-4-6, which never going to happen again. But it just tells you that he's going to be trying to get maximum points out of opportunities that just keep on coming for him. Although, as I say, the angle that he's got on the cue ball here, on the black, doesn't really leave him with loads of chances to be trying to get that cue ball past those reds. Wow, has he managed to mess this one up somehow? He's looking at the reds into the left corner, which I feel like he doesn't really see enough of to be taken into the corner. Well, the angle from another camera may suggest otherwise, but once again, this is such a close one to the red that Judd Trumpets missed against John Higgins yesterday. in the decider. And in the end, Zhao is able to make this one stick into the pocket. So 56 points now as the advantage. Has to be torn soon. Well, probably not something to be in the back of his mind, but something to maybe concentrate at the end of this break. And once again, super close to missing that ping, but in the end, just about drops in with all the power that he's played that shot with as well. Super impressive for the ping to find the back of the pocket there. 62 points now as his advantage, 83 at the table. So with all the struggles that he had, he still was going for a 1-4-5 potentially. Now playing for the blue here. So he's coming from behind just ahead of the World Championship. I mean, he's certainly managing to find the form of his life there when it comes to the World Grand Prix and a fantastic final campaign against Jaganda. He probably didn't have a fantastic campaign here, but it ain't gonna matter because he's about to take an 8-7 of a lead as he takes the red into the right middle, and it is now gonna be 2 frames on the bounce for Zhao. It could have easily been 3, but in the end, take what you can get, and he's still going to be in the lead finally for the second time in this match only, and John Higgins will still be feeling that. The previous frame mistake was the one that he got away from him because Zhao was losing the plot at touch, you have to say. I mean, that's a bit harsh, but he was missing some of those easy reds, and Higgins just wasn't able to do anything with those chances, and 76 points of an advantage now for Zhao. Now he can properly focus on the century break. Is going to be getting into the 80+ zone once again. But the thing that we want to see is going to have to be a century break there being made. Once again, I was mentioning that we don't really see Zhao making those 1-frame wins with just a single visit to the table. We've seen one now. Certainly been a great joy to be watching. Once again, not a lot of time needed there for Zhao, as he's able to get himself a break of 90 points now. So he's going to be his highest break in the match achieved overall. And grand prize winner 150,000, runner-up 70,000. Yes, that's correct. And the plane to be taken into the left corner. So once again, the cue ball is going to have a bit of a bounce and line himself up for the red to be taken into the left corner here. So a backspin applied on the cue ball yet again, and that's going to set himself up for a century shot there. And it's going to be the first one of the final. That probably was the missing piece there. Yes, we didn't get the maximum, but now this black for it to be a century break and take a bow, Zhao. That certainly was the way for you to go on about the business, and that has been a super important break. And well, he's going to miss the red, which I thought he would do. You would still make into the corner pocket, but in the end, it doesn't really matter whether it's going to be a break of 104, 130 points. And you can see a little bit of the shake of the head. It could have made the total clearance. In the end, it doesn't really matter. It is Zhao that takes an 8-7 of a lead in a final of best of 19 frames. So the race to 10 frames is about to take another turn there potentially in favour of Zhao. That he's going to find himself only 2 frames away from the ultimate target being very much there to be achieved. And well, thank you very much for everyone tuning in now. Got a lot of people watching, so feel free to hit the like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. We're still going to have the Welsh Open, the World Open, the Tour Championship, and then the Crucible Crown to be very much things to look forward to. In the meantime, we certainly have got a couple more of those frames to be looking forward to. We've got 15 of those gone. Could still be 4 more if it is to go all the way, but it could still be potentially, as I say, 2 more only if both of them to be won by Zhao. And it's a bit of a problem that for Higgins, because as much he was trying to keep hold on the match and he had a strong grip on pretty much the majority of this matchup, he doesn't seem to have one now. And it's the most important point of the match here, that he finds himself being very much second favourite here. He desperately needs the 16 frame here as well. Otherwise, he is going to be in all sorts of trouble if Zhao is to be 2 frames away and making it a 9-7 of an advantage. Like full stop covering will help. Now, thank you very much, Kevin. Yeah, appreciate the support and the super chat as well. 10-7 out it will be, as John Higgins is looking under tremendous pressure. It's a fair point, with Zhao now being only 70 points away from issuing 1,000 points scored in the final. You know, Higgins is still going to be stuck on 604. It feels like he is going to be under pressure for the first time when he needs to deliver Otherwise, you'll be in trouble because 8-7 is no joke to yourself, but 9-7 is going to be quite close to no way back there from John Higgins' point of view. And he needs to be making this one to go the distance. And, well, for him to be the winner, he needs to see 18 frames out, which was never the perfect scenario there, but you were never expecting John Higgins to beat Zhao with 10 frames to nil and 10 frames to 1. You know, the repeat the Yang Mingtao whitewash in the German Masters of 2022 season, where he was the second ranking event win for Zhao. And once again, remember, he has got the perfect record, 4 out of 4 in the ranking event finals. Right now it is going to be John Higgins to be getting a break-off shot done, and he needs this one to be leaving out anything but a long shot chance to give away over to Zhao Xington. And, well, the last thing that he needed was to see one of those reds to be heading towards the top part of the table, though he got really nice touch on the cue ball. And that will leave the brown to be in between the cue ball and the red that I mentioned. So Zhao Xington will have to try and find another way for him to be looking here for a way out of this situation. And it feels like probably just getting that cue ball across and down the table will certainly help the case. If he's going to be getting those reds to spread out away from each other, make sure you avoid the contact on the brown though, and he hasn't managed to do so. I mean, that was a break-off shot, which was quite bad from Higgins, but if anything, he has done him a favour in the way that Zhao Xington didn't really manage to, well, do a bit of damage there to John Higgins, at least not do a bit of damage to himself. Catching that brown full ball was something that he absolutely should have avoided. Last spot time approaching 20-minute mark there for John Higgins. 19 and a bit now. And you can see that he desperately needs this red to be taken into the middle pocket. But he also mustn't just be taking this one blindly with a single point there to the score sheet. He needs to be making this one the break that counts. And the way for you to do that is to line up on the colour. Let's see if he's got the ability to do that. He's gone for long red. I feel like that was the wrong decision anyway. And that's going to leave a couple of those reds available for Zhao Xington. I mean, you can understand why, again, not to explain this mistake, but he clearly wasn't comfortable with taking that red into the middle and just leaving it down to luck on whether he was going to be on the colour or not. But I'll tell you what, Zhao Xington is going to be still dangerous if he takes this red on, and he will. I mean, this is going to be slipping away badly from John Higgins, and I said that 15 frame and McGill against Murphy match was super important, and it feels like frame number 14 and 15, especially with them just accumulating towards each other, it is going to be a very dangerous thing now for Zhao Xington, especially if he makes this one another frame where he's going to have a break of 80 points or something without answer from John Higgins' camp. So you guys will have the surprise tomorrow morning as well. But thank you very much, Letitia. Appreciate that. And yeah, appreciate all the support. Thank you very much, especially to the legends like Kevin and Letitia that have been in the chat throughout the entire journey there, throughout the Players' Championship. And Zhao Xington may just be about a 1.5 frame away from ending this journey of the 2026 season, although he still needs a couple of important shots to be played. Ooh, the referee is not going to be on the Christmas card list here because he's just taken the black to be potted. Sorry, he's taken the black to be respotted, and that's going to get in the way of the cue ball and a potential chance for this break to be the one that counts. Zhao Xington, I mean, what on earth happened there? He's not even close to seeing this red. Just lost a bit of concentration there. Maybe just didn't play the shot as well as he could have. And, well, whatever it was, you can blame it on whatever things that you want there. But it is only going to be 14 points scored. And as I said, that was a chance for Zhao Xington to try and keep John Higgins in his seat. And very much leave him with all the damage to be done later on there. Right now, it is Higgins that can try and do something about those reds instead. 14 points is not going to do it there for Zhao Xington, as he's still very much looking to make his way all the way to the millennium of the points scored. He's now probably about 140 points away there that he needs to try and evenly spread in between the frame number 16 and 17 or any others for him to try and win. Preferably before John Higgins is going to be taking 2 of those away and get himself within touching distance of landing his hand on the trophy. But still feels like it's quite far away from Higgins, and every shot that he takes is going to be a real test for him to not to leave anything away for Zhao. And let's see if he's managed to pass that test here. I'm not sure about that. I mean, one of the reds does seem like it is going to be too close to being visible there for Zhao, but as I say, too close to being visible doesn't mean that it is possible into the right corner. Zhao, whatever he does, for him, he needs to be making sure he makes Higgins work hard for this one, and he doesn't make a silly mistake. And look at that, brilliant. I mean, talk about a silly mistake, and then you just see a brilliant long red cued fantastically well there by Zhao. Gets that cue ball to be all the way across and lined up for the blue. It is now going to be a break of 15 points there for Zhao, and he's going to get, an advantage of 15 points, and he's going to get himself started on another break of 6 points and counting here. Once again, it has been the story of the match, really, where you have got the player that is struggling. We've had Zhao to be in that situation, and you can see, well, I've done pretty well. Not me to be asking for the credit, but for me to be doing the scoreboard manually, and still for it to be perfectly matching the one on the WSD. 950 points there that Zhao has scored, and 604 that John Higgins has scored here as well. And the point I was going to make, in this match, incredibly, when you're not playing well, one shot is enough for you to make the mistake and just make the mess of the position, because we've seen it with Higgins at the start of the first session, because this is the problem that I've got with Higgins. He was playing by far the better snooker of Zhao, and yet in the third frame, he wasn't able to put the frame to bed, and he allowed Zhao to try and play the better snooker of, the entire final, I would say, probably in the third and the fourth frames, and that has just allowed him to get himself to be back within touching distance of 2 frames to 1, then go back level at the intermission. And now Zhao is playing the better snooker, and let's see if he's going to be able to avoid making the same mistake, because he's certainly going to be 36 points closer than he was at the start of this frame. And now just looking to try and land another blow to John Higgins' chances to be taking this frame and therefore match away from him. 37 points now is going to be the lead for Zhao. About to take the black into the right corner as well. Bit of a pace injection on the cue ball to make sure he doesn't make the same mistake, which cost him the previous chance. But seems to be able to steady the ship here. And once again, the fact that the position is actually helping out Zhao. Yes, you have to say you make your own opportunities, but you know, a couple of frames ago, you have to say the positions were nowhere near as good as this, and the one that he had in the previous frame that ultimately allowed him to make the first century of the match of 104 points. Now it's going to be the break of 36 points when he gets his blue to drop into the middle, which he will do now. A 50 points advantage as well, and 91 at the table. Zhao is showing that he's no fluke world champion like Luca Brazil. Yes, I mean, the thing about it, as much as it's a bit of a dig at Luca, but it's a fair comment, because, I mean, tell me, what's he done ever since managing to have a perfect campaign at the Crucible? You know, the highlight of his career probably has to be, ever since, reaching out the quarterfinal stage last season in the World Championship and playing some good snooker against Jotram, but in the end just drifting away in the final session and losing that match out 13-8. Made it to the quarterfinal stage against Watchalong here this season, and in the end wasn't really able to do anything more than that. Eventually losing out to the runner-up of Watchalong, but there's not been a lot of loss in the recent couple of frames there. Zhao, I mean, I was waiting for this to be pretty much at the start of the second session, but it's better late than never, and that's certainly going to be the thing about Zhao here, because he's about to take a frame ball away of the black as he takes this red into the right corner. So 67 points clear, 67 at the table, and this certainly has been a massive turning point, not in favour of John Higgins, and he needed to be trying to get himself to be edging out in front there. Certainly has not been the case here, and 74 points is going to be more than enough of an advantage for Zhao to have 3 frames as the chances for him to be trying to finally get another title on the board. And I say finally only because of how the way that this final has been going, but it's only going to be 2 weeks there that we've seen Zhao Zidane to go from not winning any of those titles, not even being in finals, apart from the Riyadh Championship, which was a bit of an exhibition event anyway, in my view, to winning the World Grand Prix in style, and then still coming back super strong in the second session against John Higgins. And you can see how effortless now he's playing those sort of shots. GG's Higgins in trouble now. He is going to be in the world of trouble because of how well Zhao Zidane is playing. You know, he's taking no seconds, no extra seconds at all in those shots, and yet he's able to get those reds to be perfectly coming into those pockets. So now the break of 76 points after the black. Can we see a century of a back-to-back there performance? Well, we are going to see one now, surely, after a fantastic split. Once again on the cue ball side, getting those reds to be separated away from each other. And the pink to be in between of them, but probably not too close to them. So that he is going to be compromising himself to the extent that you would expect him to miss either one of those shots. Another black to disappear. And making this the break of 84 points now. So could still be even higher of a break achieved than the previous frame. It has managed to achieve the millennium of points there scored. And you have to say there has been a massive flick in between the performance there of Zhao Zidane prior to frame number 13. Remember, this match could have been over had it not been the loss in that frame number 13 and the missed frame ball that he had. In the end, clearly it doesn't look like it affected him too much. And Zhao Zidane just looks to be getting better and better as those frames go on. Finally getting himself to be entering the prime Zhao Zidane situation here. So then, the yellow for the century break and back-to-back centuries. We haven't seen one in the final, but we are going to see two in a row there. And the crowd certainly going to give it up there with their applause. Have been fantastic from what I could hear. You know, flicking the audio on occasionally. And still, they must be getting a bit of enjoyment there from the way that this final has gone, and especially, you know, getting and seeing the other part of the game as well. High scoring breaks, a break of 103 points in the previous frame, and now the break of 108 points and counting. And as I was announcing that, Zhao Zidane already managed to get the blue into the middle as well, make that 113 points, so could still be the total clearance of 126 as he takes the pink on. There's been a perfect reminder of Zhao Zidane and how dangerous he can be. It is a break of 126 points that leaves Zhao Zidane only one frame away from the ultimate glory at the Players' Championship. And, well, what John Higgins must be feeling right now is absolutely going to be beyond me. Nearly 1,000 online. Hit the like button, hope. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in. It's been such a fun week at the Players' Championship, so if you feel free to, on the second session as well, to hit the like on the stream, subscribe on the channel. We are going to have the Welsh Open to be coming up in a couple of days' time. And the World Open will be there to follow in, a couple of weeks prior to that as well. And you can see the perfect number of 1,000 very much approaching the scoreboard here. You know, if we are going to be leveling up with total points that Zhao Zidane scores, I say we're going to do pretty well because he's got 1,070 points that you score, and so far we've got 970 people watching there. So thank you very much for everyone showing the support, and yeah, massive laughs to all of you, and watching the stream with you is certainly a lot more fun than watching it without you. And Zhao win. We can't expect world champions to win most of the ranking events like Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry era. Most of the players are equally talented, but Zhao is doing pretty good. Yes, he's certainly doing pretty well with this one, and you are going to have to try and do something more here when it comes to the expectations. You know, he was always going to be in that golden area of, is he going to be the next Luca Brissell? Is he going to be in the next Jump Karen Wilson era? Which one is he going to be? And for now, he's certainly playing super well for him to be entering somewhat close for his age. You know, somewhat close to achievements of Trump for that stage of his career. You know, he's got a couple of years to try and get himself to be the world number one. And as I say, I feel like he could still achieve that one by the end of next season because of how little ranking points he's going to have to try and defend before the World Championship campaign of the 2027 season. Now, Zhao Zidane is coming back to the arena and he's ready to try and give it his best for the 17th frame about to begin. And go Zhao Zidane. let's see who's going to be winning this one, who's going to be losing. We're about to find out the winner of the 17th frame in a couple of moments' time. For now, it is a good break-off by Zhao once again, making sure that he's going to have the right part of the table covered up. And the only real chance for Higgins to try and do any damage with those reds is going to have to be done through the left part of the table. So still looking forward to see a bit more of that from Zhao point of view. Because if he's managed to do back-to-back centuries, well, who says that he can't try and do it 3 on the bounce? John Higgins will try and do his best to make sure that is not going to be the case. And in the end, let's try and focus entirely on what we're going to be seeing ahead of ourselves. For now, just a straightforward transition there for the cue ball to be sent towards the lower part of the table. The red is about to disappear to the ball cushion again. And to be sent back lower part of the table. I thought about it, and then look at that. I mean, that is absolutely outrageous from Zhao. And he's going to have a red to be taken into the yellow pocket. Well, I mean, he's gone from Higgins having an equally good chance of winning those frames to having no chance at all, because he's played one shot in this frame, and he already feels like it could be the last one that he's played in the entire championship here. That was absolutely stunning there from Zhao. And now he gets himself on the brown to be taken into the yellow pocket. He's about to try and, well, get the cue ball across the lower end of the table for him to be lined up on those reds to be taken into the right corner. So 5 points now. He's going to be the advantage. Didn't expect this match to be close. And, well, we're about to find out if it is going to be taken slightly further away from Higgins. I mean, can he get through to this red? That's probably going to be the difference in between him having a chance to try and end this match with the first time of asking. Now he is able to get through to this red. So, once again, massive advantage to Zhao. He's got 13 red to try and make his way through. He needs to score around 70 more points or so with the reds available to him. But I feel like at this stage, it's been around 300 points without answer from Zhao point of view. He's managed to win 3 frames on the bounce, and he's just played a pretty bad shot there, to be fair. So he's going to have to try and go really deep in terms of the shot being played into the green pocket now. It's probably the only chance for him to try and stay on the break here. Looking for a plant, potentially available for John Higgins as well, if he is to play a safety shot now. So 13 points on the break. Is he going to be worth taking this red towards the green pocket? Well, probably will be for now. As I say, he can't miss as it stands. And he's not going to be missing here. I mean, that is absolutely stunning yet again. I mean, the first shot of this break was incredible on the yellow pocket. But look at this, how close that has gone towards the side cushion. But at the same time, how comfortably clear into the center pocket of that red. That's absolutely special there from Zhao. And you can barely find the superlatives to try and describe the way that he's managed to roll himself onto the scene ever since the start of that frame number 14. Never look back. Make a break of 80 points. Make a break of 2 centuries back to back. One right next to each other. And now about to be taken red into the right corner here. For it to be 20 points of an advantage. Class shining now. There's nothing going to be stopping him at this stage. 20 points as the advantage here for Zhao. Once again, another black, which is going to see the cue ball slightly lower. And then the black, and look at that, once again, the perfect demonstration of how much the momentum and rhythm can do to you, because he can do no wrong. And he's played another beautiful shot there in terms of the way that he's managed to separate the weights away from the cue ball, pot the black pretty comfortably in the pocket. 318 points without reply there. There you go. There's the stat for you. And incredible to say that, you know, 10-7 could still be the scoreline. I'm not saying that he will be, but look at how many more points we've seen Zhao score in comparison to John Higgins. It's now 28 points of a break as he finds another fantastic red that he had to be placing his hand very awkwardly on. And he's just about going to be close enough to the black for this one to be, once again, having the expectance of disappearing into the right corner. And this section, someone guessed right. Well, we'll have to see if that is going to be the case. I feel like I was the one to say 10-7, although I would have very much, if I had the chance to retract that statement and 7 frames each, I certainly would have done so. But Zhao at last coming back ever so stronger. And, well, once again, it looks like he is having to work really hard for this one. And despite getting the black into the right corner, somehow manages to find his way to be exactly in between those reds. So once again, may have to take another long shot into the green pocket here. And the risk of taking all of them, despite him playing well, is that if you take 3 of them, maybe still missing the 3rd one away, but not this time around. Brilliant shot once again there from Zhao. He's taken that red into the green pocket, and he's going to be able to get himself back into the prime control of the position here. And, well, you're about to be saying that John Higgins could not have done anything about the previous couple of frames, because this form of Zhao is supreme. It's unstoppable, and it's unplayable. I've done the perfect jinx again, by the way, so John Higgins fans, here you go. Sincerely, your Apex. He just had a straightforward shot, the easiest shot by far on this position and on the current break to play on the pink, and yet he somehow managed to make this one wrong, so has to go for the blue. Although I wouldn't really get your hopes up. As I say, with the way that he's been playing the previous shots, he can't really miss those. He nearly missed that one. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to come back to that miss in a moment, because he's still going to have a red to try and take into the right corner, which, because of him using the entire width of the pocket, he left himself with a bit of the sort of tight angle there to be playing. And the cue ball is going to be heading perfectly lines up for the blue once again there. Recovery is complete there, and no sweat needed there from Zhao. Loads of coughing needed. But as I say, as we've seen it at the World Grand Prix, he seems to be a good standard of play there for Zhao, as he takes the blue into the left middle. And it's now going to be a 55 points advantage. John receives 70,000 worth of ranking points and prize money. Well, he guarantees himself to it. As I say, it's never quite over until it's over. Just ask John Higgins and his performance against Trump yesterday in the 10th frame, where he missed the pink into the middle. GG's match once again, Kevin. Just, you know, it does look to be that way, but never celebrate before the checkered flag is the rule in racing, and never celebrate before the handshake is there in between the opponents. But although it does seem to be heading that way, 62 points of an advantage, a little bit of a shake of the head there from Zhao, clearly unhappy with the way that he got himself lined up for this raid, and needs 2 more shots barring snookers for this to be the end of the fairy tale for John Higgins. And yeah, you feel like this one to the middle is going to be the perfect example of how the red should be taken, especially with, you know, that miss from John Higgins, probably the last shot that he's played, or realistic chance of trying to get himself back on the break. The red is going to be taken, so the black for the match ball, very similar to the one that he's taken against Alan yesterday, but I feel like this one's slightly easier, although it's going to have more at stake. And surely it can't be this easy for Zhao, and it can be this easy. And Zhao, take a bow. This has been the performance. Once again, I mean, I want to say the performance of the season, because purely on the last 4 frames, this has been the most complete performance in the final that you could ever wish for. I mean, the only thing it's missing is a 147, but you can't think about 147 in the final. Commiserations to John Higgins, by the way. He's played some incredible matches, but once again, this time around, he's going to be 3 frames away from making it to the championship. But Zhao has been absolutely unplayable in the last 5 frames, really. And you felt like the 13th frame, you can see that with a bit of a hand movement, he's certainly giving a bit of a feedback to the crowd. And you can be watching this one with audio on now, because the crowd are about to go absolutely crazy. And Williams will still hold position number 4 in the world rankings. Yes, we're about to see the world number 5 to be very much the man from China. And Zhao will make his way past Mark Selby and John Higgins for him to still be approaching that million worth of ranking points and prize money to be scored in the 1 and a bit year list. And of course, he still hasn't performed at this year's World Championship, which is going to be another great addition, you would feel, to his ranking points. And he can miss at the end, so it's not going to be the perfect 3 centuries on the bounce, but you can see the warm handshake in between John Higgins, and he's going to have loads of words of wisdom there to be said to Zhao. Take a bow, Zhao, though. This has been a fantastic performance, worthy of a world champion, and you can be proud of everything you've done in this tournament, because all his fans and all the neutrals are certainly going to be proud, and this has been an incredible performance from him. There's going to be a handshake with the crowd going all over the place. And now it is going to be just trying to make sure it is going to be the celebration for him to try and begin. And may the celebration start. Once again, massive commiserations to John Higgins. He's played really well in the entire campaign. Couldn't quite execute this one to the end. Is the presenter Dutch? No, he isn't. He is very much Ukrainian. But yeah, this one has certainly been a very entertaining Players' Championship to be watching. In the end, the same winner as the World Grand Prix. The first time this season, by the way, we are going to have back-to-back ranking event winners. Mark Selby's done that in the Champion of Champions and at the UK Championship. And in the end, it is now going to be congratulations to Zhao. Congratulations, Zhao from Uganda. Thanks for streaming, bro. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in. We've had 1,200 people watching, and thank you to every single one of you. On your way out, feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit the like on the stream. This has been an absolute pleasure to be watching. Thank you for your company. Feel free to be joining back for the Welsh Open. Thanks, Zhao. Yes, Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. And it's a brilliant message there by the Ghost. And yeah, appreciate all the support there as well. Cool hand, Zhao. And Zhao, you are the best back-to-back champion. Yes, all the love in the chat for Zhao. And in the end, the prediction of 10 frames to 7 was the right thing to go. Once again, the damage to John Higgins was done in the last 4 or 5 frames. Congrats to Zhao. Thank you for the live stream. Thank you very much once again to everyone watching. You feel like very quickly, I feel like there's not really a lot to say. There's been such a blitz performance from Zhao to be taken from 7-6 down all the way to 10-7. So 4 frames that he's managed to win without pretty much any of those points scored in any of those frames from John Higgins' camp. And in the end, it's still been an incredible performance from Zhao to certainly be proud of. And if he was able to get himself into that position previously, and at the end of the first session, or even at the start of the second session, you still feel like the scoreline could have been a lot more comfortable for him. But in the end, you have to say there was never really a chance for Higgins to be taking it all the way to 8 frames to 6. There was a slight chance for that to be the case, when Zhao was still in the mindset of missing a couple of those reds. And it just proves the case of sometimes in snooker, when you've got the chance to be taking this one all the way, you only need one invitation, and then it is going to be going all the way for you. And you can't miss. He couldn't miss very much until the end point of that match. And the only red that he missed was at the point of 92 points of the scored. Couldn't quite make it 3 centuries on the bounce, but I mean, does it really matter? No, it doesn't is the answer. He's going to be very much the man to be catching. Not sure at the Welsh Open. He has got a horrible record so far at the Home Nation Series. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe he's going to be coming back stronger for the World Open, the Tour Championship, and then at the World Championship, tell me he's not going to be the favourite for the bookies to be very much the man to try and stop there if you can. Once again, that's going to be it from me. Feel free to be tuning in to the Welsh Open in a couple of days' time. For now, though, this is going to be the end of the Players' Championship in 2026, the tournament that has given us loads of memories, loads of great drama, loads of heartbreak for some of those fans. In the end, it wasn't quite meant to be Judd Trump against Zhao for the final, but we may still see that. Maybe the Crucible, maybe before that at the Tour Championship. Bye, Kevin. Bye, thank you very much, Kevin, especially to you. Shout out for the super chat and for all the constant support throughout the Players' Championship. That's going to be it from me. Feel free to tune in later on, but this is going to be the end of the Players' Championship. Thank you again, and speak to you soon. Stay tuned in for more snooker as we enter the business end of this calendar season. Stay tuned in. Thanks for watching once again.